Hold on. My bad. Can you guys hear me now? All right. I'm going to play this for 10 seconds, and I'm going to mute my mic. Tell me if when I mute my mic, it cuts the volume. All right. Did it mute the music at all when I muted my mic, or you kept hearing it? Okay. So I'm going to back this up. We're going to start it over, and then we're going to go live. So please mute your microphones, and here we go. In 5 seconds, I'll play the music. If you don't hear the music in 5 minutes, Boss Baby, wave it. 5 seconds, wave at me frantically. All right, everybody, Ally Radio Network. It is Sunday, the 13th of July, as we are doing weird things. Weird things. Hold on, we're going to add Lori into the stage. What up, Lori? CEO of our cast. K-Dog is in Gresham, Oregon, of all places.
Gresham? I thought
it's amazing when you drive across. The wedding was outside of Vancouver, but the hotel I got was in Gresham, and yeah. So I'm not going to give any mad props to this hotel I'm at because this place smells weird.
You're not seeing little vermin, are you?
No, I haven't seen any vermin. There's no bed bug. The place is clean. It just smells funky. So anyway, I'm down in Gresham. Lori is at the humble abode. Boss Baby is remote but not on camera as we speak, although she is welcome to join us at any time. St. Paul, the voice of reason, should be joining us shortly. Although, if you've been a follower of this show for any longer than the last day or two, you know that that's about as reliable as Trump's immigration policy. Tom and Dennis are off. So the reason we're doing this wonky setup is because Tom decided he wanted to spend some quality time with the wife. What is the background noise at your house, Lori? What are you guys doing?
My son just came home.
Oh, he doesn't. Can you hear me?
No, he does. He forgot. No. I'm on.
Anyway, Tom wanted to spend some quality time with the wife this week, and they had some plans to go do some husband-wifey stuff. Tom has been really cool about letting us set up shop in Black Ring Studios, And so with me being out of town this week, it just made sense for him to do his thing, and we would all just kind of do our stuff remotely from home. So it'll be kind of a same show. Frank Aquila is going to join us at 8 o'clock. I know Boss Baby's excited about that. She's his biggest fan on the show. Paul's going to join us. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, the Epstein files are again picking up a lot of news. We'll talk about that once Paul gets here. I guess it's 2019 all over again. But we'll talk about the Epstein files, what that means for Pam Bondi and the Trump administration, all kinds of other stuff to talk about as well. But before we do that, Lori, how was your week?
It was good. It was
Why
really
are you
good.
muting your mic?
Got some new, because the dog was excited. No one wants to hear the dog. The puppy. I'll shut my door in a second. No, my week was really good. Love the weather. Got a few yard projects done. Got a new toy from Lowe's. So pressure washed my patio. So yeah.
Oh, I thought when you said you got a new toys from Lowe's, you were talking about the kind that you have to start like a lawnmower.
Nope. Got a pressure washer.
All right.
My patio looks beautiful. That's about it. How about you?
So this is the beginning of 10 days off of work for me. So the last day I worked was Wednesday. I had Thursday off to go to a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
My good friend Ron and his fiancee Trish tied the knot up in Port Gamble. If you've never been to Port Gamble, Lori, I suggest you head on up there and explore. It is a cutesy little town, pretty little town. I guess I'd never been to Port Gamble before.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't remember it, so I guess I'd never been there before. But it's really cute. It's a gorgeous little town. They got married at St. Luke's, which is this cute little church downtown, and they've got a very cool like events area where they hold wedding receptions and stuff like that. So it was a gorgeous wedding. Had a great time. I was just there as a spectator, which is nice. And then I came down on Friday down south down here, do a little bit of camping. I had to get a hotel room for a couple nights of the camping trip though, because I still had homework to do. So I got homework we're working on, and then I'll head back to Kitsap tomorrow. I think tomorrow morning we're gonna go to Multnomah Falls though.
Oh really? It's beautiful.
But it's a good photo op.
Yeah.
So we'll go to Multnomah Falls before I head back up to Kitsap, and then again, this is just the beginning stages of 10 days off. The big K-Dog Karaoke birthday bash on Friday. We've set a location for that. And then Saturday night, some of us are going to a Tacoma Rainiers game down at Cheney Stadium to watch the Tacoma Rainiers hit some long balls. And maybe
Who are they playing?
You know what? That's a great question. I'm going to do some research. So let me my good friend Kaylin has made sure that I'm going to get a birthday shout out on their reader board, which will be nice. I've never had that before. So yeah, I'm trying to bring up their schedule, but the page is very slow to load. I think the internet here at the hotel is awful as well. So there's there's that. Hold on, the schedule's loading. So on the 18th, they'll be playing El Paso.
Oh. Like El Paso, Texas, right?
Yeah, El Paso, Texas, the West Texas town of El Paso. I met a girl with I don't know. Yeah, so El Paso comes to town. It's Chick-fil-A Bring the Herd Night. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, no, the 19th is Cerveza Saturday. So Cerveza Saturday is, let me tell you about this. Ready, Lori? Are you going? Did you get tickets for it?
No, I didn't.
You did not? Okay, whatever. You suck.
Yeah.
Cerveza Saturday. The package includes a seat, a Cerveza Saturday T-shirt, and your first beer from the bar. So it's the El Paso Chihuahuas. Because nothing says a wonderful team, a wonderful baseball team like the Chihuahuas. So It'll be fun. And then I have another wedding. So I officiated a wedding earlier today,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm officiating another wedding on next Sunday.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm
You're
a busy
just
boy.
super busy. Yeah.
Yep. Vacation
Good
is
for you.
not a vacation.
No, it never is, to be honest.
So I want to touch on on some of the after effects of what we saw in Texas with the floods.
Mm-hmm.
The media's turned the spin now, by the way,
Yeah.
as they have now slowly turned this into Trump's inability to handle responses to crisis. FEMA was way delayed getting down there. I think it's a really valid question to have. I don't know how much of that we trace back to Trump. Let's just be totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government is not a sports car. The federal government is a cruise ship. Okay? A sports car can make a sharp turn on a dime.
Yep.
A cruise ship has to do wide turns, and it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a long time to make that turn, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Race car, sharp turn on a dime. Cruise ships can't do that. The federal government is not designed. It's too big. You can argue if it's too big, but it's too big to pivot. I mean, it's too big to respond in a quick, timely manner to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not Trump's changes, budget cuts, Doge, any of that stuff impacts this, I don't. Nobody knows. And if you say you know, you don't know. You don't. You're.
Let's go, Kevin. Let's go.
You're getting your privates touched by whatever media source has you by your sack, right? But nobody really knows. And so whether you're on the left and you're screaming this is all Trump's fault and they should have done more, but they didn't do more because Trump got to the agencies, that might very well be true, but you don't know. And if you're on the other side and you're like, this had nothing to do with Trump, this was just an act of God, there's nothing that Trump did that made this worse, you really don't know. And I don't care who you are, you don't know. And so I think a lot of this stuff is going to have to come out later. But the problem is we're never going to know. The media's got their agenda one way or the other. It's either going to be used to paint Donald Trump as the villain, which is what most of them are doing, or it's going to be used to paint Donald Trump as hands clean, no issue, no problem. I know that they found some more bodies today that were related to the cabin where all the girls and the two counselors in the cabin died during the flood. So, I don't generally ask people to pray. I think thoughts and prayers are overrated. I think you should certainly pray and think good thoughts or whatever, but thoughts and prayers without action is overrated. But I wouldn't think it's a bad thing to pray for the first responders that are down there that have to deal with the aftermath of this and pull kids out of mud and flood waters and the family members that are down there. And it's just, this is one of those situations where I don't feel like there's anybody to blame. It's just a tremendously horrible act of God, and a whole bunch of people got stuck in the middle of it. So, but it'll be interesting. Again, I just encourage you guys to watch the next, 1 to 3 weeks, see what continues to trickle out, what additional information continues to come around as far as how they're going to either assess the blame to Trump or try to resolve the blame from Trump and see how valid those sources are. Nancy said they found all those from the camp. That's what their news reported. Yeah, I was told that they found some today. So maybe today was the last of them, or maybe it was somebody that they found today that wasn't tied to that cabin. I don't know. But Nancy is down there, and I know that Nancy's probably way more in the know than I am, especially because I've been in Gresham, Oregon. The only town I know of where it smells like granola. From the minute you drive in the city limit, it's pretty
granola and pot.
You know what? Listen, and I'm not going to tell you
what your room smells like.
No, it's not pot because I'm really sensitive to weed because I've never smoked weed. So, even it's like coffee. Like I don't drink coffee, so if anything has just a teeny tiny little amount of coffee in it, I know it's there.
Yep. Agreed.
I think there's a lot of hookers in this building on my floor at the other end of the building. Either they're hookers or ugly drug dealers. I'm not really sure. But the traffic in and out of the side door, which is on my end of the building, that go past my door all the way down to their room. They're in there for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes, and then they leave. And then somebody else comes over, and then they leave.
So in classic Matt Rafe style, who's a comedian, you're going to end the show early.
I'm not ending the show early. I don't have enough penicillin. I don't have enough penicillin with the mess with the fine crowd down the hallway.
Got it. Hey, so back to the Texas flood. I did do some research, and I did see a timeline that was put together by someone Trump adjacent, not in the White House, but adjacent. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, on July 5th, declared a state of emergency and asked the federal government for help. So that's when the federal government and FEMA can finally get started. So I did see that. I'm not stepping up for either side, anybody. I'm just reporting what I've seen. And then I believe it was July 6th that Trump ordered FEMA to get going on it. And then I believe FEMA was there on the 7th, which was Monday. Now, I think the thing that everybody also needs to look at, not that it's a reason or an excuse, but it was July 4th weekend. It was a holiday weekend for most in the United States, and specifically in the government. So that's one thing to think about. But I agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know that Augustus Dominic is the 26-year-old owner of a company that does cloud seeding. And they finished cloud seeding in Texas on July 2nd. And he's been on the hot seat, both on X and also on the Sean Ryan show.
Yeah, is cloud seeding real? Like, I always thought cloud seeding was like a conspiracy thing that was kind of like HARP and other weather altered stuff. So cloud seeding is a real thing that they're actually doing?
Oh, yeah. Bill Gates has a subsidiary company for the Gates Foundation that does cloud seeding in the Northwest and also in different parts of Africa where they're still allowed to operate. And then, of course, in, I think it's the Mississippi River Delta, where he has bought a large parcel of land. So,
yeah. So according to Uncle Google, here's what it says. And again, take this as what, it is the internet. Right. I'm sure there's a web page out there that says that Mandy Moore's in love with me. So just take this for what it's worth. Mandy, if you're watching the show, I love you. It says cloud seeding is real and scientifically recognized technique used to modify weather patterns and increase precipitation. It involves introducing substances like silver iodide into clouds to encourage the formation of ice crystals, which can then grow and fall as rain or snow. While the effectiveness of cloud seeding is still being researched and debated, it is a widely practiced method, particularly in drought-prone areas. Okay, so maybe they see... Again, they haven't, like, what are they going to argue that they seeded too much? You know what I mean? Like, that's why there was so much rain that they seeded too much. Like, I don't know. Listen,
I think a lot of people are just upset. There was a lot of people that died and more that are missing, and they're upset. Why is this stuff happening? So,
no, I think it's really valid. But look, I don't know if we should be cloud seeding, for one. Sam Kennison, if Dennis was here, Dennis would do a much better job of explaining this joke than I will. But Sam Kennison did a joke a long time ago about why are we sending food to people in Ethiopia? Like, you live in a desert. It's sand. It's only always ever going to be sand. Instead of sending them food, we should send them U-Hauls. And it's a joke, but if you live in parts of Texas that do not get rain, why do you live there? Like, if it's a drought desert area, maybe it's time not to live there. Instead of us jacking with the environment. And again, maybe it has nothing to do with what happened with the floods in the Guadalupe, but I like like saying the word Guadalupe. It makes me feel like but why would we risk messing with Mother Nature when in reality we just shouldn't be there if we can't figure out a way to be there? And by the way, you can totally figure out a way to be there because that's all Vegas is. You know, Vegas is just reclaimed desert land with a lot of water piped in from the Colorado River and from Lake Mead, and they make it work. So I don't think there's any rain to seed in Vegas. I don't know. Nancy said we've had rain here, and we rarely have rain from June until September and October. Yeah, maybe they're seeding it. Maybe that's working. I hesitate to say it was because of the rain seeding that caused this, because I imagine they're seeding all the time. We don't have flash floods all the time. We don't have, over 100 people dead and hundreds more unaccounted for on a regular basis from cloud seeding. So I don't know. I don't know. It's horribly sad.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that. Never mind. It is horribly sad though. And it's, again, I just encourage you, not you, Lori, but you are millions and millions. Thank you. To just be intelligent about what you read.
Right.
Consider the source of the information you're getting. What is their agenda? Where is it coming from? What are they saying? If CNN comes out and says, "Oh, we have internal sources that say that Donald Trump did and because of that, FEMA was neutered and blah 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 blah," then just take it for what it is. Doesn't mean it's not true, but it means, boy, they better have some spine to that reporting before I'm going to believe it. Nancy said they had a flash flood warning last night. A train got stopped with high water near her. Yeah, Nancy, look, do you think it's because of the seeding? Like, you're down there. Do you think it's because of the seeding? And by the way, Nancy, Tom isn't here, but how you do it?
I'm sorry, Nancy.
I'm going to continue to make this awkward, Nancy. I love you. Nancy, do you think it's due to seeding? Do you think it has to do with them putting the silver iodide? She said she does. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess
they
I would
normally don't have rain at this point in the year. So, yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's because of the seeding, right? It's not normally 95 degrees in the middle of June in Washington, but it is today. We didn't suddenly turn the heater on.
It's not June, though. It's July.
Oh, it is July. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway. Nancy said she's good. Hey, Nancy, you are so good. All right. So yeah, I'm just not of the I don't know. Paul calls it recency bias, where you believe that because things have always been a certain way and you've never seen them be a different way, that you can never accept that they could be a different way. And so I probably have a little bit of that, especially on some of this weather stuff. Maybe I'm just naive to what our scientific technologies are to mess with the weather. I don't believe in HARP. I don't believe in, any of that stuff, but maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know. And we'll have to see. So yeah. By the way, Paul's now running officially late. Thank you, Paul. We appreciate you. Okay. I'm trying to hold off on the conversation about Bondi and the Epstein files until Paul gets here, because I know that he's got a lot of thoughts about that. So we'll come back around to that in a minute. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and by the way, Andy, I haven't forgotten about you. Just because right now I'm talking about Nancy doesn't mean that in my head I'm not envisioning three of us, me, you, and Nancy. Geez. So you're talking
about a menage a trois?
I don't speak French. I don't speak French. If I can't spell it, I'm not using the word. Anyway, so the big beautiful bill got passed, and again, I want to caution people who believe the big beautiful bill is doing anything today. Like somehow the passage of the big beautiful bill last week is having any impact on the country today. Like the Trump administration came out, it was either yesterday or today, and said for the first time in however many years, we had a budget surplus and not a budget deficit.
Right.
And they were all, well, hello, boss baby. And they were all really happy. We have a surplus and not a deficit. Republicans, I hate to burst your bubble, but the surplus has nothing to do with anything Trump has done. It doesn't have to do with Doge, because the people that got laid off via Doge are still being paid through September. So you're not saving any payroll for them. It doesn't have to do with any of these cuts to agencies, because these budgets that they're working under right now were approved last year before the fiscal year. Nothing that Trump has done has impacted things today. Not that it won't in the future, but it won't today. Boss baby, you want to say something because you never activate your microphone.
It's accurate. That's accurate.
You're still being sick?
First off, I will say Manchop's going to probably murder you. Second
off, does he want to be involved? Because I got four fingers. Like, we can be four.
He doesn't.
It can be four.
Yeah. No, it can't.
Boss baby, K-Dog, Manchop, and Nancy. Perfect.
No,
All right, Lori, you want in?
No,
Lori,
thank you. I'm good. I'm good.
Notice how Paul's not invited, but go ahead, boss baby.
Yeah, no.
Wait, he's not really going to want to kill me, is he? Because then I have to uninvite you guys to the birthday party.
He might, but it's fine. He's not here. He's probably not listening.
Oh, then he doesn't even know.
I
So
don't.
we're
I said
back to
probably. He might be. I don't know. Anyway, did anybody see? And I will not name her name because she is an idiot. But the person who talked about Trump getting unalived while signing the big beautiful bill on July 4th because it would be outside, and she was hoping somebody would take care of that.
Are you talking about a famous person, or are you
No,
talking?
it was an Instagram or a
Yeah, I did see that.
influencer.
I believe they got fired too.
Yeah, she's from Washington. So
Oh, fabulous.
she's very local to us, like Pierce County local.
Oh, really?
Idiot. And she's now
So
mad
she
that she's
said-
getting doxxed.
She
Yeah.
said that she hoped that someone would assassinate the president
Yep.
Mhm.
While he was signing the
on
big
the 4th of
beautiful
July
bill.
while he was signing the big, beautiful bill.
Yes, absolutely. It's exactly what she implied. And then she, once the FBI started investigating her, because you can't talk about the unaliving of a president.
Yeah. Without issues, yeah.
Now she was saying, "Oh, it was just a joke," and okay, you're silly, but just wanted to remind you all of what kind of fun yahoos we deal with here.
Mm-hmm.
And no, Nancy,
No, Nancy,
wasn't
it was-
Sarah Simmons.
It was not Tara, Nancy. It was not Tara.
No, it was not.
No.
No.
Okay, I'm going back to hiding.
Well, hold on, before you leave.
Okay.
Before
okay.
you leave, the
Yes.
people on the left have to be really careful what they wish for.
Yeah.
loud.
Because
Wish for
Well,
that shit inside. Share it with your friends.
you-
Don't put it all
even
over.
if you wish for it inside, even if you wish for it with your inside voice, imagine what would happen in this country if Trump got unalived.
like
I mean,
he almost
if-
did a
if-
couple times.
Well, I mean, just the revolt and rebellion that would happen in this country, the people on the right would feel even more that their country's being stolen out from under them, and that they have to dig in more because of the oppression of the left. It would be the worst thing for this country.
Oh yeah.
Given the current division
you
we
would
have
have
now.
Civil War #2.
I don't think you have a civil war. Look,
I do.
civil war is not going to happen. America is too fat and lazy and bored and unmotivated.
But there's enough guns that I think we would see. You don't have to be not fat and lazy to use a gun.
Yeah.
Well, as evidenced by Dan Bongino. I don't think there would be a civil war. I think you'd see some vengeance, though. I think you would see vigilantism taken into its own hands. I think you would see, left ideologue places get shot up or targeted or whatever. I think that would spin out of control. I think you would see, like the DNC headquarters targeted or other stuff like that potentially if that happened. By lone wolf kind of Guzman. You're going to talk about your hat in a second there, Lori. But I don't believe that. Look, I have, for the better part of the last decade, heard Republicans since the time of Barack Obama talk about how they were going to have to rise up and they were going to have to rebel. And I've said this on the show before. Boy, there's only so much that we're going to let them get away with. There's only so much that the government can take from us. There's only so much they can do to our kids. There's only so many restrictions they can put on our gun rights. There's only so much we can let them do with abortion. There's only so much this. There's only so much that. And then every time the Republicans have drawn their line in the sand, the Democrats have pissed over it, and then they've drawn a new line in the sand. So, and again, I'm not advocating for armed revolution. That's not what I'm saying. I'm merely saying at some point the threat of revolution, the threat of a civil war by the armed half of this nation that are nuts about their guns and nuts about their liberties and nuts about the Constitution, you can only use that threat for so long before people are like, yeah, sure you are. Yeah, sure you are. You're going to give up your life in America and your cushy lifestyle and your job that pays all your bills and the home for your family and all the creature comforts you have to rebel. You're comfortable. You're unhappy, but you're comfortable. It's still the greatest country in the world to live in. You still have more freedom here than in any other nation in the world. You're not going to rebel from that. Quit pretending you're going to rebel from that. That's absolutely stupid. Absolutely dumb. And so until they do it, I'm not going to believe that they're going to do it. And again, if the FBI is watching this broadcast, we know that you're big fans of the show. We love you. Thank you for your support. Thanks for sharing us in all the government circles. We do appreciate it. Donald Trump, Donnie, Don, if you're watching this, I'd love another email from you. Miss you too, brother. Love you. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not. But the idea of the threat of violence becomes forgotten because they've said it so many times and then done absolutely nothing. Mick said, too many of us grew up watching Gilligan's Island. There will be no war. Exactly. Yeah, there won't be. There won't be. I mean, look at Washington State. Look at California and Oregon. The left policies on all three of those states have eroded away everybody's rights to things that the Republican Party and conservatives believe that they're entitled to and should have: gun rights and not taxes and personal freedoms and blah, 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 right? Teaching the LGBTQ stuff in schools, all these things that the conservative movement has said, well, we don't support. And if you keep pushing us, we're going to fight back. Well, then they just keep pushing. And then you guys are like, okay, but if you keep pushing, we're going to fight back. And then they push some more. Oh, but if you keep pushing, you're never going to fight back. Stop it. Your idea of fighting back is moving to Texas or Idaho. Like literally you wave your little white flag and then you move out of state. Well, we threatened and it didn't do any good, so we're just going to leave. Until eventually Washington's going to be overrun by libs.
Hold on. Eventually?
Yeah. It's getting there.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're right, Boss Baby, because at the rate that they're going, we're never going to have a balance in the legislature.
No, not here.
No,
not here.
No. So yeah, I just don't envision a scenario where anybody on the right decides today's the day we're going to take up arms. You might get the lone fringe, like douchebag, like Timothy McVeigh, who loads up a Ryder truck with ammonium nitrate and blows it up outside of a federal building. You know, these small cell circular, isolated domestic terrorist peeps. You might see some of them maybe, but you're not going to see a widespread like uprising against the U.S. federal government. That's just not going to happen.
I don't think it's supposed to be against the government. It's going to be against the yahoos who wish for, it's going to be the left versus the right is where I was going with it. I never thought that the right would come up against the government by any means. I think it's the left versus the right because they are just getting farther and farther apart. So at some point, that's what's going to go to war, not us versus the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it depends what administration's in there. I mean, if it's a Trump administration, the Republicans aren't going to act out about it. But if if you had another Biden-esque, not Biden because you can't remember which way is down, but if you had another Biden-esque administration, or their Obama-esque administration, you could. I think you could see it then. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I think people need to be ready for that. I think. Let's pretend that after Trump's 4 years, a Democrat wins back the White House. What's going to happen the minute that happens? Everything that Trump has undone, they're going to redo. Federal staffing, work at home, immigration, all that stuff. The Democrats are going to be motivated to go back in and undo what Donald Trump has done. Even if Donald Trump did good stuff, it's still going to be. Oh, John Walker, we'll talk about that in a minute. Even if it's good stuff that Donald Trump did, as you look at data and information in the country, the Democrats will be quick to erase any of that. And if that happens, then I do think you run the risk of seeing conservative fringe groups rise up or do something in response to, well, we had what we wanted, and then you guys came in and took it away. And then I think that's a real issue. John Walker mentioned in the chat about Trump thinking about revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. This is a really bad idea.
I know that
what's that?
I agree with that. It's a bad idea.
I think a lot of people on the right love this because they hate Rosie O'Donnell and they think that she's a cow and a pig and a horrible human being and un-American, and she's relocated to Ireland and all of that. And, I don't know legally what Trump can do about her citizenship. She was born here. She's not been convicted of a felony. She's not, you know what I mean? So I don't know legally what he can do outside of the fact that she's trying to gain citizenship in Ireland or permanent residency status or something. So maybe there's a turn there when somebody's trying to get it in a different country. The country they're trying to leave can revoke it. I don't know. But if you support her losing her citizenship, you clearly don't understand the Constitution. She literally has done nothing but call him out. She's challenged him, she's insulted him, but she hasn't violated statute or code or law. And if we get to a country where you use your First Amendment rights, and because of that, we're going to try to strip away your citizenship, boy, that, Paul talks about slippery slopes, man. That is a dangerous slope. We'll talk about that more with Frank when Frank joins us at the top of the hour. But, man, that is a dangerous, dangerous thing to start. And then when does it end? I mean, did you want Joe Biden to be able to strip Donald Trump of his citizenship because of X, Y, and Z? Did you want him to be able to strip Tucker Carlson because of his citizenship because of the interview with Putin? Where do you draw the line? And do we really want to politicize Americans' citizenship? Because I don't think we do. I don't think we want that. I think that's a really dangerous way to start.
But okay, never mind. U.S. does allow dual citizenship. Both Ireland and the U.S. are, what do you call it? Reciprocity regarding citizenship. So she can have both. And I agree. It's a slippery slope because if they can do that and there's stories about green cards being pulled, I haven't validated all of those, but if that can happen, then have we reached the authoritarian state where if you're speaking out, you don't agree with the current administration, you can be pulled.
Yeah, and I'm looking at an article by Axios where it talks about whether or not Trump can constitutionally revoke anybody's citizenship. And it gets down to the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship to anybody born in the U.S. Now, again, there's some questions how Trump is doing it with what they've called anchor babies or babies
Right.
that are born to both parents who are not of legal status in the country. It talks about citizens can relinquish their nationality voluntarily. So Rosie
Right.
could say, I no longer want to be an American citizen. She can give that up. But the Supreme Court ruled in 1967 that the government cannot usually strip citizens without the person's consent. The High Court did leave the door open for cases that involve fraud during the citizenship process, but denaturalization became after the decision. So it does not appear to sound like he could, but the fact that he's even talking about it is going to be really divisive. It's again, I think it's a really dangerous way to go. Regardless how you feel about Rosie, and I'm not a huge fan of Rosie O'Donnell.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, she's not a wonderful person. She just seems like an angry, hateful shrill. And not just in regards to Trump, just in general, she just seems like she's not very happy.
Yeah.
So I understand the desire to, for her to not be a thing, but holy cow, like, why would Donald Trump even talk about it? This gets back to the noise.
He's trolling her.
What's that?
What? Oh, I said, do you think he's trolling her?
Oh, I'm sure he is. Like 90% of things that Trump say is trolling.
Yeah.
90% of what he says is not based in any reasonable amount of fact.
Yeah.
Right? He's just getting people talking. But the problem is, this gets back to what I talked about before a couple of weeks ago. Why I think that by the time this 4-year term is over, Americans are going to want to get as far away from Republicans as possible, because they'll be sick of 4 years of noise. 4 years of this and 4 years of that and 4 years of horrible people and 4 years of deport them and 4 years just of stupid things that have no basis in U.S. law or fact. But because Trump opens his mouth, it goes everywhere and people talk about it for days. By the time we get through these 4 years, people are going to be so sick of Trump and the Republicans and that entire administration, much like this country was sick of the Biden administration by the time we got there, that nobody in that administration could have won the White House. It's going to be the exact same thing all over again. And you can talk about how much you love J.D. Vance and how great you think he is and how well he's doing as vice president and how you want to give him a reach around, whatever. I don't care. Tell me whatever you want to now. But unless you're a hardcore conservative at the end of those 4 years, you're not going to vote for him. Because by the end of the 4 years, you're going to be tired of it, tired of all the noise. You're going to want a break. The same reason why people voted for Biden in 2020. Because people just break.
Do you think that Trump posting on X and getting everybody riled up and, questioning everything has transferred now to him just inserting a few little nuggets here and there throughout the press?
I don't think it's transferred.
Same noise?
I think it's always been that way.
Okay.
I think he's always just been about noise. And the question we should be asking ourselves as a nation is, while we're looking over here, what's going on over here? Like, why are we distracted by this stuff over here that we're ignoring what's going on over here? And so I would just challenge everyone to look at, what is this distracting us from?
Yeah.
Because in the end, a lot of what Trump has been talking about doing is going to become pointless. The Doge cuts are not going to hold up under federal court. They're just not.
Only if Congress brings them.
Well, only if Congress makes changes to the budget that result in that. And then that would hold up. But Trump unilaterally imposing through Doge all of this stuff is not going to stand, right? The courts are eventually going to overturn it. Overturning birthright citizenship for anchor babies, that's not going to hold up under the Supreme Court, because the 14th Amendment is very clear. It says citizenship is guaranteed to anybody born on American soil. It does not say anybody born on American soil with at least one parent who's already an American citizen. That's not what it says. So the Supreme Court's going to wind up upholding that. And so all these things that Trump said he was going to do to advance this cause, most of it's not going to happen through Trump. It might happen through Congress if Congress can make it happen, right?
Right.
But most of it's not going to happen through Trump. And it's all designed to be noisy and a distraction and something to get us looking over here while we got stuff going on back here behind our heads that we can't see. And that should be what worries people. What are we missing? What's going on? And I don't know what it is. Paul says that's not what it says, Kevin. Paul, why are you not on video to tell me what it says? You chucklehead.
In real time.
God bless it,
well,
Paul.
I think there's another part of it that everybody's focused on the southern border and all the illegal immigration during Biden's White House. And that's great. That's a big deal. But nobody has been talking about for years. This has been going on for at least 20 years of all the Chinese women who come to Bellevue, Washington. There are specific homes that they give birth in. They come over here, I think it's in their 7th month of pregnancy, and they stay until they've given birth to the baby and the baby's like a month old. And so they establish that. They get a social security number for the baby. They guarantee that the baby can go to U.S. universities, all that.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about that. It's pregnancy tourism, literally.
Yeah. Here's the problem. It's all 100% legal.
I know.
Unless Congress decides to rewrite or amend the 14th Amendment. Now, Paul says that's not what it said. When I said that the 14th Amendment says anybody born in the U.S. is a citizen, Paul said that's not what it says. So let me educate you from the constitutional scholar, the great and immaculate and honorable K-Dog. Here is a quote of Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. And I quote, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." So let's take the end 2/3 of that out, right? That gets down to what states are and are not allowed to do when it comes to the rights of citizens of the country. And that was specifically written in there to stop states like Alabama from enforcing Jim Crow laws. Okay. So let's read it again. And Paul, this is what Paul's talking about. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So an anchor baby, and I don't even know if I like that term. It sounds derogatory, but for the simpler common usage, anchor babies, it says born or naturalized. So they are born in the United States. Now, where Paul's talking about is under subject to this jurisdiction thereof. I would argue that anybody in the country, born here or not, is subject to the jurisdiction of the state and of the federal government because they are obligated to follow the laws, whether they were born here or not. So unless Paul has a different understanding of that clause, I think that's a moot clause. If they're born here and they're subject to the laws here, then they are citizens. Now, you could argue that somebody that's here with like diplomatic immunity. So if you're a Russian
diplomat,
like
ambassador.
Yeah, Russian ambassador, and you're here with your wife, and you're here under ambassador status, and they have a baby born here. That baby would not be a citizen because they wouldn't be subject to the laws because of diplomatic immunity. I mean, I think that might be an exception. But as a general rule, if you just read the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state in which they reside. I can't think of anybody who's not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, with the exception of maybe diplomats. And Rick says exactly, children born to foreign diplomats are not considered subject and do not get citizenship. Yeah, because they're foreign diplomats and they're under diplomatic immunity.
Well, and the other, go ahead.
I was just going to say, under the example you gave, Lori, which is, Juan and Claudia come up from Mexico. They hide out in the in the foothills in Utah. Claudia gives birth to Jose. Jose is born in the United States. He is still subject to the laws of the United States because he's in America. He doesn't have diplomatic immunity. There's no blanket immunity applied to him because his parents were here illegally. He's born within the borders of the U.S. He's a citizen. And you can't have a president deciding willy-nilly, well, I'm going to do it with the Constitution. That's not how the Constitution works. It's not how the framers set it up, but it's not how the Constitution has to be amended or revised or altered. There's a policy in place for that. So if you don't like it, fix the policy, fix the Constitution.
Right.
Donald Trump is expressly forbidden from doing that by executive order. Lori?
Agreed.
You were going to say something earlier.
Well, I mean, I was just going to point out that every, I forget what they're called, consulates, I guess, of foreign countries, that land is considered that country's sovereign land, even if it's in the United States. So, for example, one thing that I've joked around about is I would love to go to Norway for the year. And if I could work from the U.S. consulate in Norway and then just live there, and go snow skiing and everything, it'd be great. And I wouldn't have to pay Norwegian taxes. Well,
I mean, exactly. But here's the deal. Sam is in chat. I love me some kid's dog. I don't know what that. All right, Jeffrey Epstein. Nice to see you in chat. And Nancy said, I'm not a constitutional scholar. And my response is the same as far as U.S. born citizens. I have a problem with anchor babies, honestly. And then she talks about naturalized, ... Here's the problem, Nancy. And I think it's a great conversation to have in regards to the term anchor babies and children that are born here from parents that are not legal and that whole thing. I think it's a great conversation. The problem is, Nancy, is that we have a higher issue here. And the issue is not in that law. The issue is in the Constitution. And what does the Constitution say? And you can be upset as much as you want to about anchor babies. But right now, the Constitution says ... and the Constitution is the law of the land ... and we don't get to just ignore the Constitution because we don't like what it says. And so that's the problem with that I have, right? As far as I'm concerned, the anchor baby argument is moot. Because the Constitution clearly states they're born here and they get citizenship. And if you want to fix that, you do that through the constitutional amendment process, which is firmly enshrined in federal law. You don't have a president who says, well, I'm going to write it away. And if the U.S. Supreme Court were to uphold that, then I would advocate and call for their impeachment immediately. Because the Constitution doesn't give wiggle room. If you want it to have wiggle room, then you need to go back and amend it through normal policies on how you amend the Constitution. But this is not up for debate. Like, this is not a Donald Trump decision. This is you ratify it through normal channels, which includes the Senate, the House, and every governor in the country. That's how you do it. But Donald Trump just deciding he's going to put his little John Hancock on something and make it so? Yeah, no, it's not how it works. And Nancy said, good luck with that, since it takes a 2/3 majority vote. Yeah, exactly. We will never see another constitutional amendment in this country in any of our lifetimes. I don't care if you're in your early 50s like me, or if you're in your mid 50s like Lori, or if you're in your early 20s like you're in your early 20s like Nancy. Like Nancy's like 21, 22 years old. Like, how you doing, baby? We're not going to see another constitutional amendment because we can't get 2/3 of anybody to agree to anybody. Margie said American Indian. I don't even know what you're talking about, Margie. You got to be more specific than that. Just throwing the words American Indian out there. I don't know what you're asking.
Well, and Sam corrected himself. He was trying to say K-Dog.
Oh.
And it came out Kid's Dog.
K-Dog. Okay. Well, I love you too, Sam. So Sam is one of my best friends in the entire world. I love him. And he's proof that I don't have a height requirement when it comes to having friends. But he's not going to be at my birthday party. I mean, how horrible is that? Even Nancy's going to fly up for my birthday party.
Really?
Aren't you, Nancy? How you doing? Anyway. But yeah, Sam's not going to come to my birthday party. Some lame excuse. I got to work early the next morning. Blah, 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 I got a job. I'm responsible like an adult. Shut up. They have this thing that you can do, right? I'm gonna demonstrate it for you, right? Get on your phone, dial some numbers, 10 digits, right? They answer the phone, hello, and you're like, I'm so sick. I can't come to work today. I'm so sorry. I'm taking a sick day. I'll be in the day after. Sorry, goodbye. Click, and then you're fine.
Yeah. Until you're caught. As long as you don't do anything on social media, you're fine.
No, you don't do anything on social media.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're going to pull shenanigans like that, your social media needs to be on lockdown, friends only.
Yep. Oh, Margie's asking, are American Indians citizens? That's a great question.
Well, yeah, they are because they're subject to federal law and they're born within the U.S. border. So yeah, they're citizens, unless they choose to renounce it.
But isn't the tribal land considered sovereign?
It's under federal jurisdiction, though.
In agreement.
That's why the Bureau of Indian Affairs oversees all federal lands.
Okay.
So they're sovereign nations in the sense that they are given some degree of self-rule or whatever, but they're still subject to federal law. Like you can't break federal law on tribal lands and expect you're going to get away with it. And there are treaties, as Rick says, there's treaties, but they're still under federal jurisdiction. That's why, listen, some Native American Indian tribes are not selling cannabis. Quinault, which is one of the largest tribes in the state, will not sell cannabis on tribal lands. And you know why?
Because it's not recognized federally.
Yep, it's not recognized federally.
Illegal. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, tribes like Puyallup, tribes like Suquamish, tribes like Tulalip, they are all selling marijuana on tribal lands. And they're really doing it with the hope that tomorrow the Trump administration does not decide to invoke federal statute. The past Democrat presidents decided essentially to ignore the statute. And then Trump had continued to ignore it during his term. But the federal government could literally wake up tomorrow and say, you guys are breaking federal law, and we're going to seize anything and everything that is used to derive income from you guys breaking the federal law. So they could seize spots of land, they could seize businesses, they could seize storefronts, they could seize growing farms, they could seize all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that option. Now the federal government hasn't done that. And I think Suquamish and other tribes like them are pretty confident that they won't, because they would lose a lot of money. But I just don't. I don't know if I'd be willing to play with that. Kevin Nelson might be showing up to my birthday party. That would be a good time. So Kevin Nelson, you're more than welcome to come by. And if you need a ride home afterwards or something, let me know. I'll see if I can help you get a ride home. I will not be riding home because I will be 10 to 14 shots of tequila in. Really quick, we're going to bring Paul on, who's broadcasting from the palatial St. Paul Estates and Turkey Farm. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, brother. Hi,
what's going on, buddy?
I'm listening to your interesting debate, and I know it took me a few minutes. I had some issues with my audio, but I got it fixed by just switching over to my phone and leaving my laptop. So my apologies for it taking a few minutes. But things are going well. The paintball field is open, so that's good. I'm exhausted, but it's open. So that's cool. But the problem is we can't be open as much as we want to be because we are required by law to have range safety officers there, even though you cannot discharge a firearm at the gun club right now. But God bless Washington Democrats; they're amazing.
So range safety officers, is that, and again, we're going to bring Frank on with this in just a second, but when you say range safety officers, can anybody be a range safety officer, or is there like a state accreditation they have to do? Or what is
you have to, you have to take classes and become certified, which we're working on doing right now for my brothers and I, so that one of us is always available.
So
one of you guys could.
Yeah. That way we're there. But the problem is you're talking about a gun club that's 100 years old, but hasn't been open for shooting of firearms for about 10 years now, right? So their membership has dwindled to about 30 people that take the Second Amendment very seriously, and so they haven't given up hope, and they're still fighting, the lawsuit with the county and everything else. And but now you have an entirely new role of politicians in Kitsap County, so none of them are associated with this old lawsuit. So there's a good feeling that the time is right, and there's been a lot of positive movement by the county. So hopefully, with any luck, this year, their 100th anniversary, they'll be able to reopen again. So that's super positive. So we'll see how it goes.
What does that mean for you if they are able to reopen? Does that impact your ability to?
So we set up our field in the place where it was the quickest and the easiest and the flattest to set it up, which was right on one of their firing lines. But we did it in a manner so that it's easily breakdown and movable. So once they're able to start shooting there again, we will vacate that firing line and move our field to another part of the property. They have 72 acres there, so we have plenty of room to move to. And we're already working on our other fields at the permanent side of the gun club, so we won't be right down there in the middle of a firing range. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how it all worked out. But again, we set up so that we could get open as quickly as possible, and it just took a while. So a lot of things to work through, especially for a gun club that's scared to death about the potential for any lawsuit, right? So there's a lot of liability concerns that went into everything. But after we got open for our first day, they certainly felt a whole lot better because they were like, oh my gosh, okay, this is super professional. They get a safety brief, and there's lots of safety precautions taken, and there's safety gear and all that stuff. I think for them, it was hard for them to envision how much goes into safety during that sport. Without actually having experienced it. So once they experienced it, all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, okay, we got it," and then now they're all excited about it. So before is they were just scared to death, But so it'll be good. It'll be good.
All right, let's do this. Let's table this. We'll come back to it. But joining us live with a very adorable dog is the one and only Frank Aquila, author of the book Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere, good friend of the show, longtime conservative voice in the show. What's the dog's name, Frank?
This is Paisley, and she is something else. I'm getting her down right now.
Paisley's a puppy, right?
Oh yes. She's a Labrador puppy. She's 12 weeks old right now.
Oh, you got your hands cut out for you, brother. But those are always fun.
The fun age, the peeing in the corner phase.
Yeah,
she's doing a lot better. I mean, we got her when she was 8 weeks old, and so. We had a lot of cleaning up to do in those first few weeks, but she's actually knows to go outside now, so she's actually doing a lot better.
That's perfect.
Yeah, the only problem is she likes to bite, and I had to go get my shoes on so that she's not biting my feet while I'm here on the show.
Hide those shoes, otherwise she might tear into those a little bit too.
Yeah.
She's actually biting on the shoes right now. So,
and Frank's punching. He's like,
if she bites the toes, I'd be screaming right now.
Yeah,
right.
Wait, buddy, it's something to you. It's thanks for some flexibility, as you were supposed to come on last week with the 4th of July, but I hope you had a good 4th. And can you just do this really quick for me? Can I see you still got all your fingers?
I got all of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Checking.
Unfortunately, a lot of people do lose their fingers on the 4th of July. That's sad, and unfortunately, this year you had that flood down there in Texas. A lot of lives lost there, and so our prayers been for these families. I can't imagine what they're going through.
Well, and that wasn't the first time that happened, right, Kevin? You know that wasn't the first time that there was a deadly flash flood at the Girl Scouts camp in Texas. Did you know that it happened back in the 80s?
Yes, I didn't know it happened back in the 80s.
Crazy.
There was a lot of conversation back then. All the local county commissioners or whatnot, the local officials wanted to get in some kind of a siren system, some kind of an alert system, and funding for that dried up, and they weren't able to do it. Frank, as
I was just going to say, it wasn't a priority, but I bet you it becomes a priority now.
Mm-hmm.
You hope so, but God bless it, man. It's a shame it takes, over 100 dead and nearly 200 more missing, or whatever the numbers are. It's just, Frank, it gives me two questions, right? Question number one is, should they have been able to see this? And should the warning system have been put into place? And then the other half of that question is this a fluky act of God that happens once every 50 years? And I'm not saying it's acceptable, but it's part of life and living and being on this planet. And is putting $10 million into some kind of alert system feasible? I don't know how to balance those two questions.
I believe, first off, this is just, I haven't confirmed this, but this is what I heard, and this is going on where the government goes up and seeds the clouds to make rain. And I had heard that was being done. And so when man interferes with the weather, and if we have the government going out, and I don't know who's involved in doing this, but we do know that they are seeding these clouds in order to make rain. And I don't know why you'd try to make rain in the middle of summer. I mean, I don't know if anybody's trying to seed clouds out here where I live, because we don't even get rain for like 6 months of the year. But it doesn't make any sense why we would actually have people out there seeding these clouds, number one. When it comes to a warning system, if you live in an area where cell reception is not its best, I believe that should be a priority for that region of the community. There has to be some sort of alarm, whether if it's through the fire department or for the whole city. I think that, they have it for tornadoes and such in various cities. There has to be a warning to let these people know that there's going to be a flash flood. That there's a lot of lives lost, and so I think that all has to be reevaluated. They had that flood 30 years ago, same area, and it likely will happen again. And so that's what there should be a priority on all of that.
Frank, a lot of people, especially on the left, and you've seen this from some of the left-leaning news organizations, CNN, MSNBC, have already attempted to attribute this to Trump. He gutted the agency, and there's not enough people working, and they didn't have a meteorologist, and blah, 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 blah. My assumption has been that everything Trump has done hasn't had enough time to take effect. Like the federal government turns like a cruise ship. It doesn't make a 90-degree turn. It makes a very round turn to get where it needs to be. Is there any truth in the idea that somehow some of Trump's cuts or adjustments may have I'm not blaming Trump. I'm just asking, is there any truth to the idea that maybe it contributed in some way to what we saw in Texas?
I don't think so. I think it's politics. Politics is being played, unfortunately. And it's just what the Democrats are doing right now for the low information voters out there to believe this. It's they haven't been truthful. They weren't truthful during even during the campaign with President Trump. They were. That's why he won a lawsuit against I believe CBS. You have the media and the Democrats really just playing a script. and they're not being honest with that. And it's very unfortunate because instead of just speaking honest the truth, as it's kind of like the economy. Trump comes in, he's still literally under the Biden budget. The budget was done a year ago under Biden. His policies and his things is all getting transitioned in. You can't go ahead and blame what has happened on day one or even the first few months into his presidency on him. So I mean, now the response. Hey, if you want to talk about the response of the government, of his people, yeah, you can talk about that. But what was put into place prior, that you can't. He's still trying to establish what's right, what he wants to do. And as you know, it's going through the courts right now. A lot of things have been stopped by the courts. Finally, the Supreme Court has come out and said, hey, you know what? You don't have this blanket immunity of let's say a judge in California, a judge in Massachusetts, for that matter, making a district ruling that affects the whole country. So we have just got that cleared away, just literally in the last month in the Supreme Court ruling. So you can't put this on President Trump about what has happened. It's just unfortunate. It is politics that the Democrats are playing.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, Paul and I, we talked about it earlier. Paul was in the shadows before he joined us, but we talked about the issue with the quote unquote anchor babies, right? And whether or not citizenship is entitled under the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, and whether or not Trump has the power in which to reverse that. If we read that section 1 of the 14th Amendment, it says, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. While I understand the desire to do something about illegal immigrants that come across the border to have a baby, thus granting it some kind of a toehold or foothold, do you think Trump has the authority or should have the authority to amend that through an executive order? Or because it's written in that way into the 14th Amendment, does this have to go back to Congress for an adjustment to the amendment?
That is a very, very good question. That's going to be for the courts to interpret. And I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I do believe that what you're saying about having to go back to Congress to do an amendment, it might be the way to go. Or do they interpret that was done because we had people here, as for example, the African American community, slaves. You want to say, hey, you know what? You want to go ahead and make it where people that were here, that everybody that is here is a citizen. Now, do you have a loophole? Do you have something where you can say, wait a minute, this was not meant for people just come here illegally and become anchor babies, and by means of being an anchor baby, now you know what, we're just going to go ahead and allow anybody to come in because their baby has now gained United States citizenship, and that's going to be for the court to decide. And I don't know, it's going to be a very interesting ruling.
Well, here's the interesting part. Hold on, Kevin, 1 second. Let me throw this out there, because something that gets missed 99% of the time, and unless you're deep in the weeds on this issue, you're not going to know about it. I know, Kevin, we have fun calling you a constitutional whatever.
I'm a constitutional scholar, you windbag, but go ahead.
Yes, that's the phrase. But like I said, if you're not deep in the weeds on this topic, what most people don't understand. So first of all, I brought up subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay, that was meant to exclude children of foreign diplomats and hostile occupying forces. That included Native American tribes, by the way, which were quasi-sovereign, right? So the amendment was intended to guarantee the citizenship, as Frank said, of freed slaves, and not to automatically grant citizenship of children of undocumented immigrants. And why do we know that that's the case? Do you know why we know that that's the case? Because what do people take cases to the Supreme Court for? For interpretation, right? That's what they go to the Supreme Court for. They need to know, what did the founders mean by this, whatever the question is. Well, in this particular case, we actually know the answer to that question, Kevin. I know that you didn't know that because of the argument that you were making earlier. And I'm saying this not because you're or anybody else making this argument is ignorant. It's because this shit is buried, and it's buried deep, and it takes a lot of study to find it out. You like my chickens? They're cheering me on. The 1866 Civil Rights Act, are you familiar with it? Because I had never heard of it. Right? The 14th Amendment codified the 1866 Civil Rights Act. Did you know that, Kevin? Because I didn't know that either. And it referred to those who owe, and we're back to the subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It referred to those who owe, and I quote, complete allegiance to the U.S., which undocumented immigrants do not. And that was discussed, and that was in the 1866 Civil Rights Act, which the 14th Amendment codified. To me, this is an open and shut case. And
Fair enough.
That's what makes it an open and shut case, in my opinion.
I will tell you that to me, it's very much like the Second Amendment, right? We hang on to the Second Amendment as written as the way that it was, based on the founding fathers and their vision for this nation. And we don't want the folks on the left reading into that. We don't want them interpreting what that amendment says. We want them to take that amendment as it's written as gospel. So if we take an amendment as it's written as gospel in the Second Amendment, then we have to apply that to the 14th Amendment, which is as clear as the Second Amendment. Anybody born or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction are citizens of the U.S. And the parents, I would agree that the parents, there's some questionable with the parents, but the baby.
It's only questionable, though. But it's only questionable, Kevin, if you don't fully recognize the 1866 Rights Act. Because a lot of what the Supreme Court has to rule on is, what did the founders mean? And in this particular case, we have an idea. It could be argued that we know.
You and I will argue about this later.
So anyway, that's my point on it. Yeah.
Okay.
I just like to follow just what Paul has mentioned. That is a very great point that he does bring up, and I'm sure that's what the argument's going to be before the Supreme Court.
That is exactly the argument.
It's going to be very interesting because already know where the three liberal justices are going to be. They've already telegraphed themselves pretty much. And
they sent Western Union telegrams to everybody that would listen.
Yeah, it's just going to be. It's going to come down to, I would say, Kavanaugh and also Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Roberts. They're the ones that are going to be the deciding factor on that, and they're going to be weighing that. And I would say. I wouldn't put more than a cup of coffee on the decision. It's just.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up there, isn't it? I mean, you feel like flip a coin, man. I don't know how it's going to turn out for sure.
Well, and to their credit, Amy Coney Barrett and Roberts specifically have broken from the other conservative justices in a couple of rulings, especially lately. So they've shown that they're independently minded judges, and they're going to interpret the Constitution the way that they think is right, regardless of what the ideological, groundswell might be around them, which I think is what they were supposed to do as judges in the first place. Well, one quick response, Nancy, in the chat room said, when the Constitution was written, people weren't coming across the border illegally to have U.S. citizens. You're right. And when the Second Amendment was written, we didn't have semi-automatic weapons. So, I mean, again, we'll discuss it more later, but there's a huge gray area for me in that discussion. Frank, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm glad that Paul's here because I want to get both of your guys' thoughts about this. So Pam Bondi and Dean Bongino and the Justice Department. Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino, sorry. Are facing some flack over the Epstein files. And there's some really curious ways this thing came out, right? Bondi came out a couple of months ago and said that the files were on her desk and they were being reviewed. Dan Bongino had said repeatedly, even before he was appointed to his position, that he was not going to rest until the files came out. And then they came out this last week and a half or so and said, yeah, there's no files to really release. That there were no client lists. There's no documents about anything. There's no famous people to divulge. And it really has created a bit of a rift in the MAGA movement, if you want to call it that.
It's
a
chasm.
I'm being politically sensitive.
Yeah, you're being nice. Yeah,
created some friction because there is this belief that the deep state was covering up a lot of people who were probably named on there. Bill Clinton, for one. And now there's this question lingering. Well, wait a minute. If all this stuff existed and Pam Bondi was talking about it a couple months ago, where did it go? And why aren't we talking about it now? How did it all cease to become a thing? Do you have a thought on this whole thing, Frank, on the whole premise of the Epstein files and what it means?
Yes, I don't think it's a good look right now, honestly. When you want to be transparent, you want to go ahead and say, hey, this is what we have. We know there's flight logs that were taking place. Now, I'm going to try to look at both sides for a second. Remember when the Biden and the Democrats were in there for 4 years. It's 4 years of being able to get rid of all the evidence. So we don't know what evidence there was.
Mm-hmm.
But now on the flip side, there had to be something. There had to be some sort of evidence. And whatever evidence there is, I agree with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. You know what? It just doesn't pass the smell test. I don't think President Trump had a good response. It's like, hey, nobody cares about Epstein. I think people do care about it, and I think it's a concern. Pam Bondi, as you said, she said, "Hey, I got this on my desk." Well, when you say, "Hey, we're not going to discuss this anymore," it leaves a level of questioning in people's minds. It's like, wait a minute, I thought it was important. I thought it was on your desk. Let us know. Now, if there's something that has to be redacted that because of certain things that can't be said, I mean, that's understandable. But it leaves this level of suspicion in people's mind that are there people within the deep state that we don't know about, and I think the public has a right to know. And I don't care if it's Republicans or Democrats. If there is child trafficking on Epstein Island, and we know Clinton went there, I don't know how many times, and we don't know how many other people went there, but there's a lot of rumors of a lot of different people, and there's and I supposedly the one gal that was with Prince Charles or Prince Andrew, whoever it might have been, I can't remember, but
her name was Virginia Giuffre. She's now dead, by the way.
She's
dead.
That's what I was just going to say. I know that she just recently passed away, and so, and then you had Epstein's girlfriend, I think Maxwell, her name is. I mean, I'm just going off the top of my memory. Well, she went to prison for something. Then, I mean, there had to be some sort of proof that she went to jail. I mean, there has to be a list. And why are these people protected? And the one thing we expected from President Trump is, to go after these people. We're tired of the fact that everything gets brushed aside. Now, I appreciate President Trump saying, hey, you know what? I fully support Pam Bondi. I think maybe people are getting along on her a little bit too rough on some things that she's not doing enough. But if she's doing great on a lot of other things, and she's not doing great on this, I don't think you get a pass. I think, you know what? Hey, you have to at least bring something to the table and say, hey, this is what we found on Epstein, and this is what we didn't find. We don't have enough proof. We got the flight logs, or we have a partial list, or come out and say, you know what? We never got a list. But to leave us second guessing, I don't think that's a good look.
So let me see if this, I really sat and thinking about this, and let me talk about Pam Bondi first. I felt like the problem with Pam Bondi is that she has provided the appearance that she's too partisan on behalf of the president, right? Like, she's a fangirl of the president, and she started out that way down in Florida in the 2016 election and so on and so forth. So I think that that's kind of backed her into a corner with Trump supporters. And Bongino spent years on his show really harping on this idea. So he backed himself into a corner, right? Like he has to, for all of his fans. He has become wildly successful with his Bongino Report website and his shows and stuff like that. So he's backed into a corner, right? And you know, his background, like yours, Frank, in law enforcement, you know, when you believe something in your gut, right? I can only imagine, but I can imagine that as a law enforcement, when you feel something in your gut, you're not going to let it go without a good dang reason. And so I understand both of them. And when you listen to what gets reported often about this stuff, well, Bondi said it was on her desk. Steve Ducey was reporting that. And I'm not going to say he was misquoting her, but he was misquoting her. She was talking about all of the Epstein files. She said they're on my desk. And it was the way the question was worded to her that was completely ambivalent. It was just out there. It was just an open, vague question. Now, having said all that, I am so adamant that what we witnessed for 4 years of the Biden administration was a setup of lawfare against President Trump, the likes of which this country has never experienced before. That was criminal in its own right. But let's put a pin in that for a second. I believe that Bondi is telling some version of the truth when she says that file isn't there. Because if it existed, I have zero doubts that the Biden administration or somebody within that organization would have found it, put their fingers on it, and released it if it involved Trump. Now, an interesting theory that came to me from military intelligence, believe it or not, actually my son's unit down in Fort Hood. I don't know where they got their data or information. I can't say that. But what is circulating amongst them, again, being military intelligence, is that their belief is that the reason why more information about Epstein is not being released is because Epstein worked for the Mossad, and it was his job to gather intel and dirt on people. And because that was what he did, that was what was held over certain prosecutors' heads, caused him to get good deals. They protected him basically in order to defend Mossad and Israel, and they protected him as an intelligence source. Now, that doesn't justify it, but when you Mossad and Israel, and they protect him as an intelligence source. Now, that doesn't justify it. I'm hearing myself over and over again. Sorry, I didn't want to talk over myself. But anyway, if that is the case, right? If he was a protected intelligence asset, doesn't justify it, but you can at least understand to some degree the protections that were put in place, right? Like they don't want to burn certain intelligence assets, right? They don't want to flush out certain things that they had on certain people. I would like to see them make it all public. Forget the idea that they're an intelligence, make it all public, be a complete open book. I think that's what conservatives want. That's what we expect. Because I don't know if you're like me, Frank, but I can guess that you probably are. And I'm sitting here going, if my president that I support was doing things he shouldn't have with underage girls, I want to know about it and replace him as soon as possible. Like that is exactly how I would feel about that. And I think most conservatives feel that way. Like we're not afraid of the information. I don't hear people saying, you know, well, we got to protect the president. We all know President Trump had interactions with him. And Trump has not been shy about that. He's like, yeah, but I didn't like the guy. Right. And it's not a secret that he booted him out of his own club. Right. So he booted him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was 86th out of that joint. I don't know the full circumstances. I don't know that anybody does. But the point is how good of friends was he if he 86'd him out of his own place, right? And I can't escape the idea that had those files existed and had Trump's name in them, had Trump been associated with them in some way, they would have been used by Biden and his rubber stamp crew. That's my take on it.
I 100% agree. And just something I was going back to earlier. If there's information, CIA information, if there's information that cannot be revealed, hey, just redact that, just go ahead and black that part information out, saying, hey, but this is the information we have. This is the information we're going to go ahead and bring public. If something's missing, you could just come out and say, hey, we don't have all the information, or some of the information has been removed, but at least provide us the flight logs, who's been there, or what they know who's been there, and let's just
right.
And by being fully transparent, this way it takes away the second guessing for the public. And you know what? Right now,
that's right.
I think it hasn't been a good move. It's probably I think this has been to the MAGA group that supports President Trump, it's probably been their low point right now.
Yeah, I think it's how they're dealing with it, Frank. I'm there with you. Yeah.
And there's one other rub to the story too, right? So Elon Musk has this fallout with Trump. Now Elon is kind of off on his own. And one of the first things that Elon did when he kind of broke away from Trump was post on X in a tweet that's now been deleted, but that Donald Trump is on the Epstein files. And now the file, and I'm not saying Trump did or didn't do anything wrong, but it adds a level of that. Are you hiding something? Are you covering something up? Is there more to the story when you've got Musk saying Trump's on the files and now you said there is nothing? Like it does lend itself to those types of questions, even if it's not based in fact. Like we've seen enough from the Me Too movement and movements like that where nothing even has to be proven now. You know, the insinuation is enough to upend somebody's life, job, career, politics, all of it. Just the insinuation.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Frank.
No, I was going to say, I think the whole thing with what Elon Musk has done and with President Trump, you know, Elon Musk, you know, it's very strange. They were close. They were really like, I mean, the kids are calling him Uncle Elon. I mean, just you know, the grandkids and, you know, he was over there at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, you thought they had this tight bond, and there had interviews literally stating, hey, the media would love to go ahead and have a feud between us. And then all of a sudden they have this feud, and instead of keeping it private and between themselves or just having a disagreement, it became more personal. Became more insulting. It became more attacks against each other. And I think that, you know, it was very, very unfortunate. Now Elon's talking about making his own political party, which is going to be horrible. I'll just put it like this: it'll be absolutely horrible, and it's going to create a huge problem. It's going to create a huge problem, and it just seems like they were so close, and then they have been so far in this feud, and it just. Very, very unfortunate because Elon did a lot of great work as far as going in there and finding the government waste and
made Kevin go back to his office, man.
What was that?
It made Kevin go back to his office.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, hey, there was a lot of things that, you know, because you know when you force everybody to go back to work to try to find out who's actually at work and who's not at work and where all the government waste is, because including doing bisexual studies on Sesame Street in Iraq. I mean, it's just too much garbage and too much wasted money. And you know, I've been on this show for a long time, and I was saying, hey, there's a lot of insider trading on Wall Street and everything like that. And it wasn't just that. We're finding out just because President Trump was in there, we found out there's a huge deep state that they're trying to attack him, and they do to others. And then also the USAID was used as a bank account for Democrat donors right back to the party. And so, I mean, and you don't even know how many billions and billions of dollars are wasted, but you have all these politicians that are saying, oh, I got rich, but I don't know how I got rich. And well, I don't care if it's Republicans or Democrats. As I stated before, every single one of these politicians are supposed to be public servants, and every single one of them should be audited every single year. I think they should go into office and not even have a salary. They're going in and literally making what $173,000 a year, but then they're all of a sudden, you know, Nancy Pelosi has $250 million, you know, and so I mean that's just very, very unfortunate and deceptive, and it's an abuse of our system, an abuse of our public trust in these people. These people really should all be thrown out, and some of them should be thrown in prison. Honestly, they should be thrown in prison because we can't do this in the private sector, including insider trading. Ask Martha Stewart about that. And then also this USAID, it's just been a way of putting money into their own pocket, which makes them filthy rich and prevents anybody else from running against them because they don't have the cash flow.
Well, listen, I would love to give every elected representative a raise, and then block them from any other additional income. So no speaking fees, no trading stocks, no money from PACs, no whatever. They get
I
paid
wish,
what
brother.
they get paid, and then they get nothing else.
Run for Congress with that as your platform. You'll get votes.
I agree. I think that's what I've told various politicians. If you want to run for Congress, and you should make your number one issue of cleaning up the corruption in Congress, and you know what, that goes across the board of Republicans
we have a weak,
Democrats.
Weak congresswoman here in our district. And Kevin, I'm just saying, right? You're a smart guy. You're a long-term Democrat, but you're a moderate Democrat, almost bordering on Republican, almost. Right? You go out there and run as a Democrat with that as your platform. You can go ahead and put your career with the VA on side. You'd have a legitimate chance of winning that seat, right? Because you're quasi-famous. You're Native American. Nobody's going to give you shit about you, whether or not you're white one day and Native American the next. You're golden, brother. You can't be touched. Although you're not a lesbian, so there's that.
Here's the problem, though, Paul. The party would never support it.
You mean they wouldn't
Because
support you?
their people would be losing money hand over fist. Frank, I don't know if you've had the joy of the experience of knowing one of our state senators, Patty Murray. When she ran for office, as Paul would say, when Moby Dick was a minnow, she was a soccer mom in tennis shoes, and she was relating to the working class and the challenges that face young, families and young kids and all of that.
Now she's fourth in line to the presidency.
Yeah, 25, 30 years later, she's wearing designer suits and designer haircuts, and she's part of the apparatus, and she's made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. That leadership would never allow the ability to somewhat restrict their ability to make money, right?
Well, that's kind of my whole point. As far as it would be very difficult to even primary a person like that, much less win him in a general election, because you already got the political influence, you already have the connections, and to go with that, you have, as you just stated, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So you know what, you can buy the media to support you. You could go ahead and put all the fluff and propaganda out there to just say, hey, I'm here for you. I'm still that soccer mom. And who's going to have the money to really go out and say, hey, you know what? You're a crook. You're absolutely a crook. You are living the lifestyle of the rich and famous, and you don't care about the people. You just care about getting elected every 6 years so you can continue to line your pockets. And if somebody had the ability to really get that message out, saying, hey, you know what, I'm for the little guy, I'm for the person that's and that's why there needs to be reform. There really needs to be reform, because again, these people are not going in there as a public servant. They're going as their own servant for themselves. They could care less, except making sure they got enough money to make sure they're reelected, to continue to dole out favors for those people who are going to help them, but it's not about doing it for the best of the country.
Hey, Frank, the other thing I wanted to ask you about is just with some of the noise coming out of the Trump campaign, the Trump administration. Dan Bongino came out, or there's reports coming out that he's considering resigning because of the issue with the Epstein files. Pam Bondi again taking a whole bunch of flack. Elon resigning his post in Doge and moving on. Who was the other guy? His name is the other one who was on Doge with Elon, but left early on to go run Ohio. What's that?
Big balls.
No, Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy.
Before. Yeah, that was before they even really started doing anything. Okay, I got you.
And then obviously all this stuff with Musk. And if memory serves me correctly too, Frank, we saw this out of Trump's first term as well, with guys like Tillerson, and that didn't really stay in their role very long before they moved out and moved on to other things. Is this an issue in the Trump administration where just trying to keep people in their roles and kind of handling some of the friction and some of the backward stuff that happens behind the scenes with, I mean, Trump has many things, and one of them is a really big, he's got a big ego. Does that cause friction, and is that a problem that the Trump administration is going to run into for the rest of this 4-year term, is keeping people in its spot?
I don't think so, but it is a problem. Yeah, I think basically Trump wants the right people that are going to be supportive of him. I think when he ran and he started in 2017, he had a lot more difficult time. He had people that were kind of doing their own thing. At the same time, they had the fake investigation of Russia collusion, and it was really a 4-year mess of what he had to try to deal with. Trying to deal with it. First off, he had the Attorney General Jeff Sessions. That opened the whole can of worms up. And as Paul touched on earlier, you have people that are loyalists, and I think basically, everybody's human, but I think the best thing for President Trump, and I think President Trump is hey, he's about America first. He's very transparent. And he really wants to go ahead and he wants to fulfill his promises. And if there's part of that, because maybe somebody's trying to not put out some information, if you start taking away where there's not some transparency, I think that becomes an issue. With the Doge thing, hey, I think that was a success. They provided more information on Doge that was revealed than anything else. Now, the problem with Elon Musk, I mean, like I said, maybe his ego got in the way of saying, hey, you know what, I got an issue with this. I really don't know what the real issue was. I mean, Trump had his story that he didn't like the EV mandates. Elon was trying to state that, hey, they need to go ahead and cut more, and this big beautiful bill has still too much waste. But you know what? It should be something where you could sit down and you have a conversation, and that should never have gone public. The whole thing with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, honestly, they should just kept everything quiet. And you know what? If there's an issue or there's a problem, there's going to be problems. Everybody in family, you try to take your family all on the same page, it's going to be difficult. But I really believe that Trump is loyal to Pam Bondi, and what has to happen is when there's a disagreement, you have to pull these people in together, and you have to say, hey, you know what, solve it here in the Oval Office, and not out there in the public. And unfortunately, that's what Elon did, and now he's got this American Party that he's trying to do, and that's another huge problem I believe for the Republicans, as I've stated out before.
Well, it certainly screams reminiscing back to the days of Bush Senior and Ross Perot, right? I mean, if you run two conservative parties, no matter how good the candidates are, you just run the risk of fracturing the vote and potentially giving it to a Democrat just because you fracture that Republican vote into pieces.
Kevin, that is a great point, and that's what's happening. That's what's going to happen. We know we are basically a 50-50 country as far as when we have elections, we see people just barely winning by 51% or even just 50.1%. And when you have such a close electorate, and then you got voter fraud to go along with it, which I think a lot of is being exposed as well. But if you got to understand one thing about the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. For example, we were just talking about the Supreme Court. You have 9 justices there. You always know how the liberal justices are going to vote. They're always going to stick with each other. Mm-hmm. And when in Congress, the Democrats are always going to stick with each other. But with the Republicans, you get people that split. And if you get an American Party out there, the Democrat base is going to always be the Democrat base. And they aren't going to go to, first off, they don't even like Elon Musk. They might have gone out and bought the Tesla because they want to say, I'm saving the environment. And then they're ready to burn their Tesla after what Elon Musk was helping with Trump. And so they are very much endowed to the Democrat Party, and they're never the base is never going to leave. That base is going to stay there. Now, if you get an American Party that Elon is trying to put together, and he's got money where he's already talked about the Second Amendment. Well, the Second Amendment, I'm going to stand with the Second Amendment. Well, that's what the Republican Party does. He's going to be one that, hey, you know what? We don't want to have government waste. Well, that's what the Republican Party is, in essence. So what he's doing, he's siphoning away Republicans who already are willing to split. And you're not going to go ahead and siphon away Democrats. You might get a few, but their base is going to stay there. And all you got to do is get 5% of the Republican base to go, and then here you go. You've lost to the Democrats in the midterms. And as I stated before, I know that you guys know that I'm very religious and everything like that. But when you look at biblical prophecy through the Bible, it talks about a worldwide government. Well, worldwide government would only happen one way, and that's through socialism. That would happen through the United Nations and a one world government. And that goes against what President Trump does right now. President Trump is talking about America first. He doesn't care about a worldwide government. He wants a strong Republican Party. He wants a strong America, and that's not part of the world. And hey, the Democrat Party wants to bring us to open borders. They want to bring the whole world together and have a world government. And you know what? That's really, if you want to look at prophetically, that's where we will go. And I really believe that Elon Musk, with his development of this American Party, will actually break the split where the Democrats, which they have a bad brand right now, but their loyalists will stick together, and that's where you'll see the Democrat takeover.
Well, and I think, I know you study a lot of history, Frank, but I think if you go back to the election in 1912, where you had the Bull Moose Party, with Roosevelt, with
Taft,
and Taft, and Woodrow Wilson ended up winning that election, even though he shouldn't have. But you had a third party in the Bull Moose Party come along, a foundational party behind a guy with a lot of personality and had a lot of following behind him, and harpoon that. And if you look at the course of this country with the Woodrow Wilson election, the direction of our country, especially with World War I, would have been dramatically different had that election gone differently. And so it's just, people say, well, a third party candidate is never going to win or whatever. But we've seen in this country where third party candidates don't win, but boy, they throw a stick in the spokes of that bike.
Well, let me point out, here in California, as you know, there's the Green Party, okay? Or it was the Green Party. You still have the different political parties, but see, the Democrat Party got smart. They said, you know what, they saw that, and know this. Gavin Newsom, when he was mayor of San Francisco, he got elected as a Green Party. He wasn't a Democrat. In the Green Party, what was happening is they were splitting the Democrat Party ticket. The Democrats were realizing in the general election, you had all these different party candidates. You had the Green Party, you had the Democrat Party, Republican, Independent, and the Republicans were winning many of those seats because there was a split, because you had a lot of people going to the Green Party. So the Democrat Party got smart, and they said, you know what? We're just going to take the top two candidates in the primary, and then they'll face each other in the general election. So if you get a Democrat that was able to beat a Green Party, the up and coming Green Party, they basically eliminated the Green Party, because now the Democrat Party was, let's say, got 32%, a Green Party candidate got 20%. Well, you know what? Now the Democrat is in there in the top two with a Republican. And now when you go to the general election, you have the two top candidates. And then those people that were voting for the Green Party that could no longer vote for a Green Party, they voted for the Democrat Party. That's how the Democrat Party played it. And that's how they got full control of California, because they eliminated the choices. And here when it comes down to the party, then that's on the state level. Now, when you got a national ticket, hey, all of them are on there. All of them are on there. And but the Democrat Party, they know that was the one thing they had to do here in California. And then they went ahead and they did ballot harvesting because they want to make sure that they got enough votes and whatever it took by hook and crook to make sure their candidates won. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, their candidates finally pulled out ahead. And so the Democrat Party, they just want to eliminate the competition. And at the same time, now you got so third-party candidates. They eliminated third-party candidates. Yeah, Elon Musk is going to go ahead and do this American Party. That's actually going to split the Republican ticket. He's already taken Republican issues. The Democrats will never come over to his side, and it's not going to be good for the nation.
Well, I know that Tom isn't here to talk about his angle with this, but doesn't that just further reinforce the issue with having such a strong libertarian influence? You know, is that you're still pulling away votes from Republican potential races. You know, you're fracturing out that conservative voting bloc. And meanwhile, the Democrats have done a really outstanding job of rallying together behind whatever liberal candidate they can get. You know, the people on the far left were not excited about Biden in 2020, but they realized that's what their wagon was hitched to. So they weren't going to get more progressive with Kamala or anybody else. Biden, the one that made it out. So they all rallied behind him smartly, if you're a Democrat, right? And the Republicans seem to have some challenge. We see a lot of it up here in Washington, Frank. I don't know if you guys see it down there, but a lot of conservatives, well, this guy's not conservative enough. He's a rhino. He's purple. He's not red enough. And we're losing state races because of it.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I think Reagan said it best. You know what? Hey, if we have 15 issues and you agree with me on 11 of them, let's say, and you maybe don't agree with me on 4 of them, you know, you're not my enemy. You're my friend. I mean, hey, you're not going to sit down with your own family and have everybody say, hey, Kevin, I agree with you on all this. It's not going to happen like that. What you do is you should be able to say, you know what, I agree with you on most of these issues. If you agree with me on 9, 10, 11 out of 15 issues, you're my friend. You're not my enemy. You know, you're somebody that can actually we could have agree to disagree on some issues and say, you know what, I'm glad we're on the same page on others. And if there is a disagreement, well, maybe we could go ahead and work something out. And it's unfortunate that we have become so polarized. I know, for example, there's people say, you know what, I'm not going to vote. I'm a one issue person. I'm going to vote only on abortion, for example. And it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, if they're pro-life or pro-death in that one sense of a child. You know what? There has to be a chance to say, you know what? I'm going to look at the totality of all the issues, and I'm going to weigh them. And I think, Kevin, I admire you in that once because you know what? I think you are somebody that has identified yourself more as a Democrat in the past, and you've become more into the center, saying, hey, you know what? The party's gone a little bit too far from where I stand. And so you become more independent. I know my father was a Democrat. He became a Republican. So I think there's some people that have done that. But all in all, the base of that Democrat Party is very, very strong, and they'll never leave. But we got to get to the point where we actually should be able to agree to disagree on some issues, and not just be a one issue candidate when it comes down to when you're going to vote.
Frank, I've always said the Democrat Party is a party of youth and inexperience, and for voters, and that once you are no longer young and you have some experience in the real world, and you figure out how a bank account works, and how taxes work, and how finances work, and how government policy affects your life, the older you get and the more your experience of that, the more you become at least a fiscal conservative.
I think that's a very, very good point. You could even use the word ignorant too. I mean, you got a lot of people that just are low information voters, that they take what somebody's told to them. And that's why, kind of going back to that, your one point about Oh shoot, now I forget what you were just. Well, I'll use the immigration issue. The Democrats are really trying to push up that, all these immigrations, all these raids and everything like that. And, this racist, they're arresting brown people. And my point about that is there would not be anybody being arrested. There would not be any raids and having and saying that this is like the Gestapo and Nazis if the border wasn't just left open for anybody to come across. You want laws to be enforced. As I mentioned to you before, my wife, she is here legally and from another country, and she has done her stuff through the legal way. And it's totally disrespectful to everybody that's gone through the legal process, people that have gone through and got their citizenship, to allow people to just come over here and just be fed into government assistance when you wouldn't be doing that in another country. For example, in Mexico right now, because the border is closed, there's a lot of people that didn't make it over the border that are stuck in Mexico, and the people of Mexico don't want those people there. And it's kind of the boomerang has hit over there in Mexico.
They're rioting in Mexico over that, right, Frank? They're rioting in Mexico over that very fact. They want Westerners gone.
Yeah, absolutely. The media won't report that because they want it. They that goes against what they're trying to feed to the low information voter out here. But yeah, the Mexican government doesn't want all these illegals into their country, but they want that border open. And now these people didn't make it over the border. They're stuck there, and Mexico wants them out.
Frank, this hour has flown by, man. I think this is one of the best talks I think we've had in a while, where we just kind of drilled down just a little bit different level. So I appreciate you, and we'll do this again on August 3rd when we bring you back on again.
And August 3rd might be my last time in California. I'm in contract, and I'll be heading to Tennessee. Maybe at this point right now, I don't know when I'm closing, but literally we could be moving between August 4th and August 7th.
Well, keep
awesome,
me posted.
dude. Congratulations.
If we need to float around our schedule with you or whatever, we can certainly accommodate that as you get prepared.
Well, that's going to be nice. I know you always want to try to get me on that 7:00 hour there, Kevin. So you know what? Once I get to Tennessee, I'll be in the Central Time Zone. It'll be 9:00 for me. I can do the 7:00 at that point. We can go ahead and continue from Tennessee at that point. So. For sure, probably in a couple months. It's on the bubble for next month, but we'll be in touch.
All right, man. Frank Aquila, thanks so much for joining us, man. Take care of yourself. Stay good. Tell your wife we said hello, and thanks to her for letting us steal you away for an hour tonight.
Absolutely, you guys be safe.
There you go. Frank Aquila.
Peace.
Author of the book Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere and longtime conservative contributor to the show. Frank, we love you. All right, let's go back here. Wow, look it up. Look how good looking people we are. All right. Anyway,
words don't do me justice. I know.
What's that?
I just said words don't do me justice. I know.
I'm having a lot of fun playing with the layout tonight. This is good stuff. All right, so I thought it was a really good talk with Frank, and normally I feel like when we did have these discussions with Frank, it becomes very along the line, right? Like, he is a conservative, he is a Republican, he is a Trump supporter. He's honest about that. The answers are usually right in line with that. But I felt like tonight we got to drill down a little bit different with some of it. I thought it was a really good chat with Frank, and thank you for coming on. Lori's awful quiet over there. Lori, why don't you tell the world about your hat?
So,
for the listeners that can't see it, tell us what the hat says.
So the hat says Alligator Alcatraz, which is the new detention center, migrant facility to help illegal immigrants go back to their countries. So they're going
to help
be
them. I like it.
Yeah, it's going to help them.
Since they along.
They didn't self-select to deport, so they're being put in this detention area. It's called Alligator Alcatraz because it's on this 50-mile stretch of the Everglades where alligators, big snakes, dangerous things, bugs, lots of bugs. But it's a repurposed airstrip facility that they've repurposed into this detention center. I got the hat just because I thought it was funny that they were calling it Alligator Alcatraz. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the place?
Kevin, would you like to go first?
Look, I'm going to piss off my left-handed brethren. The issue for me with illegal immigration has always been the word illegal, right? If you're not here legally, if you have chosen not to enter the country under the guidelines of what we have, if you have chosen to ignore the federal government's attempts to return you home voluntarily, and then you can reapply, like that's what they've said. If you self-report, you can try to come back in. I don't understand the left's infatuation with do what you want to do. I don't get it. So, what the leftists term this alligator Alcatraz thing into is, oh, you're okay with them feeding illegal immigrants to the alligators. That's not what it is at all. It's just it's a jail in a swamp next to an airstrip that they're going to throw them on planes and send them home with. I don't advocate the inhumane treatment of people. I don't advocate the abuse and torture of people. I don't advocate for illegals to be thrown to the alligators and fed to them in the swamps. That's not what I'm saying. But there are opportunities if you're in this country illegally to make yourself legal. There are opportunities to apply for amnesty. There's opportunities to apply for a visa. There's opportunities to apply for residency. There's opportunities. If you refuse to do that, I don't know what other options you have. Now, I think the Trump administration's gotten a little heavy-handed. Okay. Showing up en masse with, 10, 12 agents to arrest a dad who's dropping his daughter off at school, and then the family not hearing from him again. That seems to me to be a little heavy-handed. But I think the gist is the same. If you're here illegal, you're not supposed to be. And if you're not supposed to be, then you got to go. And if you've been here for years and you haven't taken any effort to get an immigration lawyer, to try to be here legally, to fill out paperwork, fill out forms, get yourself here legally, if you haven't taken the effort to do that, that's on you. That's not on us. That's not on the federal government. That's on you. As Paul likes to quote, we are a nation of laws.
Not men. Laws.
Not men. Laws. And those laws matter.
Where was the dad that got picked up?
I think he was in Florida.
Oh, okay. Because I know that there's a story going around on the left about a guy who's here legally and everything and married to a school teacher. He's got kids and all that. When you dive into his profile or his history, he has actually been deported 3 other times prior for other things. And he refuses to follow the legal process, take care of his business. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Lori, yep.
And again, there's nothing that says if you're here illegally, you can't consult an immigration attorney and work to get your status cleaned up. There's nothing that says you can't be here legally. So why is it on all of us to make excuses for the fact that you're too lazy to do the job that it takes to be here so you don't have to worry about it? And that's somehow our fault. There's a responsibility to being an adult. I don't get to drive my car illegally every day and ignore every ticket I get and just say, well, I didn't know. Or, boy, I've had a rough life. Or I had to come here from somewhere else. Or there's an expectation of behaving like an adult. The people that are in this country should have the expectation to behave like an adult. We should help them as best we can. There should be programs in place and ways to do it. But this idea that, that this poor family came all the way from Honduras and they're escaping drug dealers and drug murderers and human traffickers, and they've come here for a fresh start. Well, part of you coming here with a fresh start is following the laws once you got here. And part of that law is, how are you here legally? Did you fill out a form? Did you get permission? Did you and I don't know why so many people are allergic to that, Paul.
Well, first of all, you really hit the nail on the head there. I got to give credit where credit is due.
I'm a hammer.
And you put it in a better way than I would have put it too, in the sense that, by making a short, succinct point of, how is this our fault? And listen, as somebody who worked as an immigration facilitator for a year, I'm just gonna say this: the reason I quit was because I felt we were taking advantage of immigrants. Why? Because everybody that we were charging exorbitant rates to could do what we were charging them a lot of money to do for free. They could do it for free. They just had to, well, to quote you, Kevin, not be lazy. And so it became asinine to me watching people paying us $5,000 to fill out paperwork that if they took a day and did it themselves, they could. So that really shaped my narrative of the entire process. Does that make sense? Because it's like I began to see there's an entire class of people here that share some very similar behavioral patterns. And I know it sounds horrible. It's like, oh, Paul, you're lumping all these people in together. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing, because I saw it firsthand. Like Tom Homan says, he goes, you want to come here? Great. Do it through a legal port of entry. Period. You can go to another country, almost every other country on the planet, and if you cross their border illegally, okay, you're going to jail for a long time. Like, you can't do that anywhere else. That's how asinine it is when you really get down into the weeds on this topic, right? So it doesn't, I don't feel bad, right? But it also has seriously divided our country, right? This issue but I don't think it has divided the country as much as we maybe think it has. I think it's being used as a bludgeon for the left, of the right, and of Donald Trump. They've made it a microcosm of how they feel about him and put all of their energy and emotion into it because they feel like, if enough of them get on the streets of Los Angeles and protest, they can make it a difference, right? We're going to turn back those ICE agents, and they might be able to, right? But you've got ICE agents now that are being shot at. You've got Democrats trying to pass laws that says, hey, you can't work for ICE and go out and make arrests and wear a mask. Translation, we want to be able to dox you legally. Right? Now, let's keep that in context for a second. We're living in Washington State, where Democrats made that a gross misdemeanor, which is almost a felony, for you to dox somebody. Right? Let that sink in. Democrats in this state have said, we are going to charge you with a crime if you dox somebody. Democrats on a national level are saying, we want you to not be able to wear a mask so we can dox you. Mm-hmm. Like, that is so difficult to process, the level of hypocrisy within one party, right? Between a local level and a national level. It just blows the mind, right? And to show how, I hate to say it like this, but it's true, how messed up this subject is on a state, or let's take, okay, I'll use a great example on Facebook, and this is all public information, so I'm going to say names here because anybody can go to my Facebook page and see this. I mean, it's no secret that I like to post stuff that is, controversial, some would say, right?
Never.
So yeah, it's true. So the other day I posted this meme. And it came with a story from Numbers USA, and this is a website I like to follow because basically what Numbers USA does is they do stories based on straight up data. Okay, I figure Lori could probably really appreciate that, just straight up data. And now, for those that don't know, a couple weeks ago, might have been a week ago. I don't see the date on here. Anyway, 2 days after this was July 8th. 2 days after a workplace enforcement action at a Nebraska meatpacking plant. Did you guys hear about this story? identified 70 illegal workers who had committed identity theft. 70. Okay. They committed identity theft. NBC News reported, quote, every seat in the waiting area was filled. Filled with who, you may ask? With people filling out job applications. Let that sink, seriously, let that sink in. These are American citizens saying, look at that. Look, there's job openings there now. I'm going there to apply. And that's exactly what they did. There's no labor shortage, was the NBC reporter's point of view. He said Americans who had, sorry, that blocked out. Okay. There's no labor shortage and no jobs Americans aren't already doing, right? That was their point. Look at this. Because what's the left told us for years about illegal immigrants? They're doing jobs Americans don't want to do. I'm not going to lie to you. Working in a meat packing plant, I wouldn't want to do that. But you know what? When it comes to doing this kind of work in these communities, these people are more than happy to do the job. Like, a waiting room was filled, and the owner of the meatpacking plant was like, after the raids took place, he was interviewed and he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, I don't have enough people to put my production lines in. I can't package meat, right? Walks in the next day and his waiting room was full of people coming to apply, and he was like, I actually have some hope right now. Right? I mean, those are stories that should be all over the place, but they're not. And so I'm going to tell you that after I posted that, okay, what do you think happened on my Facebook page? Any ideas?
Death threats.
Anyone? Bueller? Death threats. I know, right? Yeah. No death threats, but immediately, I had a mutual friend of Kevin's and I's, and basically, I call him a friend as in a Facebook friend. His name is Scott, last name Tolbert. Immediately came on to my Facebook page and posted that this was fake news. Okay, and so Scott, because listen, there's been many times when I have posted about stuff that he's posted because it's just kind of really tipped over to the left. Not really brilliant reporting. And I'm like, hey, this is the reality of the story and stuff like that. I don't ever go on and just tell somebody, hey, that's fake news, because not unless I've researched the shit out of it, right? So as they say, discretion is the better part of valor. So what was really kind of interesting about this was here he made a big post about big capital letters, LOL, fake news, and then he posted the story, right? So I'm gonna pull that up. And I'm going to read you what the story was, okay? That was, oh my God, he may have gone in and erased it. Hold on. That'd be even more funny. Okay, so he posted fake news. Here's the real story, okay? Now, mind you, what I just read to you was the meme, right? This is the real story that he posted and claimed that my meme was fake news. Omaha, Nebraska. Every seat in the waiting room of Glen Valley Foods was occupied with people filling out job applications early Thursday afternoon. 2 days after the meatpacking plant became the center of the largest worksite immigration raid in the state of Nebraska so far this year. Dozens of prospective employees, many of them Spanish speakers, had been coming in and out of the plant all day. Some were hoping to land a new job, and others were coming in for training. The scene gave the company's president, Chad Hartman, a glimmer of hope amid the chaos that ensued after Tuesday's raid purged roughly half of his workforce, many of whom had been longtime employees of his company, which had been processing boxed beef for more than 15 years. That's the story. So what you have is an issue that is so divisive that I posted it, and the guttural instinct was to post, like, in some way, like, assuming that it was fake news, posting that it was fake news, and then posting a story that was almost verbatim what the meme said. That's how laughable this topic has become. And I felt like this really is a microcosm of where we're at on this issue, right? People completely, do you think, my favorite one is people saying illegal immigrants, well, they cause far less crime than people that are here legally. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Because they don't want to get deported. They're here illegally. They don't want to get caught doing shit. But here's the issue. Why stop every time an illegal alien rapes and murders a little girl? Because they shouldn't have motherfucking been here in the first place. Right? It's like when your wife runs the car out of gas and she's all pissed off and calls you, I ran out of gas. I need you to go to the store and get gas. So bring me some gas. And you're going, well, you ran it out. Don't get mad at me because you couldn't read a gas thing on your dashboard. Or, I mean, I'll go get you some. Don't yell at me. I don't need, right? Like, that's how stupid it is. Like, it's a circle jerk argument that makes no sense. And followed by the next one, which I just adore, because the lack of research that goes into this, or the regurgitation of lines from legacy news media, when people are looking at, let's use the Big Beautiful Bill as an example, right? What was one of the things the Big Beautiful Bill did? Well, how did it save money for the American taxpayer? Do you remember? What did it do with Medicaid?
You were breaking up on mine a little bit. Ask that question again.
Okay. The Big Beautiful Bill that passed on July 3rd. Right. What did it do to Medicaid? Do you remember?
Well, what did it really do, or what are they saying it did? Because they said it was going to kick a whole bunch of people off of Medicaid and reduce funding for Medicaid, implying that, your poor little grandma was going to lose her Medicaid. But that is exactly what was implied by the left. You are correct, Kevin. But what does it really do? Who does it kick off of Medicaid?
Illegal immigrants.
It's just illegal immigrants. Yeah.
Well, illegal immigrants and people who don't prove that they're working. Okay. There's a provision in there that says you have to prove you're working 20 hours a week in order to receive that Medicaid benefit. Okay. So what is the retort to that for people who only know this as a political issue? Their retort is, ha ha, you're stupid. Illegals don't get Medicaid, right? That's what they say. Well, a 5-second search will tell them otherwise. Because as Kevin, as you know, having worked for the IRS, right? First of all, there's 1,001 ways for somebody that is here illegally. Don't think that they've lived here in the shadows as long as they have, and they haven't learned how to game the system. They have an entire system set up of purchasing social security numbers, for example, right? And as well as EIN numbers, which can be used as an alternative form of ID in some instances, right? But are you aware that there's not just, quote, Medicaid? It's used as an umbrella term to represent multiple types of Medicaid. That I didn't know. I had to learn that. I got to figure that out because I didn't know what that was. So Medicaid on multiple levels, you have a normal Medicaid, right? You also have 2 other types of Medicaid. So the illegals are getting the Medicaid coverage because states are offering it, like Washington, Oregon, California, New York, and a few others, right? So these are some of the most popular states in the nation, right? And they are offering Medicaid services to people that are here legally. Washington State's a big one, so is California. And guess who picks up that Medicaid tab? The federal taxpayer.
Yep.
And also, emergency services. That's why when you go to the emergency room, you see a whole bunch of, well, not so much the last few months. You don't see as many illegals in the emergency room. But that is exactly why they were going to the emergency room, because it was covered under that Medicaid provision for emergency services. They could also come to the emergency room pregnant and they would get covered. All of their services surrounding their pregnancy would get covered.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole host of things that was going on behind the scenes and not acknowledged because people didn't want to reinforce or challenge their own narrative that they already had. And listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that the Big Beautiful Bill was perfect because there were some things in there going on that I don't necessarily agree with. We can't ignore the basic truths just to make political points, which is what a lot of people are doing. And by ignoring the fact that illegals do, in fact, get different types of Medicaid coverage. Because, in fact, I think the appropriate term is you have traditional and then you have non-traditional Medicaid. And under non-traditional Medicaid is where you have your emergency room services and other such. And it tells me a lot when people's first response, Mr. Tolbert, is to suggest that illegals don't get Medicaid coverage. The first thing, as soon as you make that argument, I'm like, oh, he's full of shit. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Just none. You lose all credibility. It's gone. It's flushed out the window. So, I invite people before you engage in a political conversation with Lori or Kevin or I, really do your due diligence, man. Make sure that you know what you're talking about. Tom, yeah, not so much. But the rest of us, It's important. I love Tom to death, but literally every third sentence out of Tom's mouth is, "Let's talk about deregulation." That word, he works that word in there somehow. So, God bless those golden showers, libertarians. We love them.
Well,
They give us cannon fodder.
But there's one thing to ask yourself, Paul.
Yes,
And
I will
that
ask
is-
myself. Go ahead.
If the Democrats and the left are really intent upon helping to solve this issue with illegal immigration,
Yeah.
and really help the people that are here illegally,
Yeah.
then why are they not out volunteering to help illegals fill out the forms to make themselves legal?
Well, Kevin, that's a wonderful question.
Why are they not out doing what people like me do for veterans in the
Mhm.
VA?
That's
if
right.
I know somebody is a veteran and they need help with their paperwork, I am allowed as a federal employee to go help them.
You absolutely did it for me. You did it for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can
so-
attest to that firsthand.
And so if you're a Democrat and you're really wanting to help these people that are here illegally, why aren't you setting up clinics in your local communities? Here's how we fill out the paperwork. Here's how we apply for a visa. Here's how we apply for asylum. Here, and again, people would have to be invested and put their money where their mouth is and their time and get trained on what all this stuff is, and maybe partner up with some other nonprofits or some local universities or colleges where the professors there know about the ins and outs about these different, background situations that would qualify. But to me, this is not, it's like abortion. They don't really want to fix it. They just need a reason to complain about it.
Yeah.
As long
Yeah.
as you
It's a
complain
beautiful point.
you can get donations to your party about it, and you can use it to demonize the other party. If you suddenly fixed it so it wasn't a problem, you'd be giving up. Like Paul, you would never. No, I won't say you would never, but it would make no sense. Well, it would make no sense from a business standpoint for you to issue your own YouTubes. Here's how you can really cheaply and inexpensively fix your own roof. Right? Because you'd be putting yourself out of business. Now, it's not really the same because roofs are dangerous and roofing is high up and stuff is expensive. But just in general, as a businessman, you're not going to go out there and say, here's how you can replace me.
It's a bad example.
I know.
It's just, in all seriousness,
it wouldn't make sense for you to be out there saying, this is how you can replace me and save yourself money. You wouldn't do that. And the parties aren't going to do that. They're not going to show you how to do things to make it better, because then you make them unimportant.
So let me take 2 seconds and explain to you the 30-second backstory to what I'm about to tell you. I am looking right now at picking up a dealership for a profit center here on the Kitsap Peninsula for a nano product that coats roofs. So when people's roofs start getting worn and older, for about $2,500, they can coat their roof and get a 10-year warranty on that roof, instead of me coming in and putting a $15,000 new roof on. So, yeah, I kind of do tell people how they can save a lot of money and avoid using me to put a new roof on. But so I know.
You're still making money off of that as a business owner, because they got to get the nano product from you, and you're the one that's got to apply it. So that makes sense. But
about $1,600 for an hour's worth of work. Yeah.
Here's a better example.
Yeah.
The fine folks at Olive Garden would not teach you how to make their breadsticks the right way.
No, but I do want their recipe for freaking for sauce. Yeah, I definitely want that damn recipe.
But they wouldn't
steal it off the internet
for cheaper.
No,
because then they would lose the money. You know what I mean? And the parties are the exact same thing. We're not going to fix it because we would be costing ourselves income. The parties look at us as income. They don't want to help us. They don't want to fix us. They don't make the world a better place. The ground level people probably do. Like, I really believe that the 20-somethings with blue hair that live in their mom's basements that are protesting in downtown Seattle, scribbling profanities all over the wall of the Jackson Federal Building, which is still there, by the way, the profanities. I really do believe they want to make the world a better place. They are young and idealistic and naive, and they believe what they're told. But the people above the food chain, they don't want to make anything better. They're all about that money. Money. Yeah. Money. Yeah. That's all they care about. Because that's a line in their pockets. Division is a very profitable business.
And
Yeah.
they want those voters, right? Because they're for the illegal immigrants coming in. So that helps build their base of voting because they're losing too many right now.
Yeah, I think Lori's spot on with that. I don't think that we're going to hear a Democrat ever acknowledge that, but I don't see how you cannot acknowledge it, right? Because we see gerrymandering of voting districts that are kowtowing to that very issue. We see that, and this is a great point that I don't think gets talked about enough. But you know that Trump is talking very openly. He wants to redo the census. He wants to do it this year. But this time, not counting illegal immigrants. And do you know what that will do to the voter rolls? And as far as number of votes and positions that people will get in Congress, it'll have an impact.
Yep.
I've seen some crazy numbers on the level of impact that may have. I mean, like to the point where the Democrats could lose 10 seats in the Senate. You know, that's huge.
Yeah, but here's the question though. Can Trump legally call for the census to be done sooner?
That I don't know. I have not dug into that enough.
I think the census is mandated again through the Constitution as far as when it's supposed to be done. So I don't think he can just willy-nilly come in halfway through the censal term and just ask that it be done again. I think he's got to wait.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up since we're talking about it because I don't know the answer to that, Kevin, and it's a great question.
Yeah.
You guys hear my alarm system in the background, the gunshots and the dog barking? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have concerns over Trump's overreach?
Yes, I do. Personally, yeah. Yeah, I think that the more he's able to do without pushback, because I think generally speaking, when we have a president in the White House, there's a certain amount of yes men around the president.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that generally speaking, there's a certain amount of people that are there for the right reasons and they're not afraid to tell the president no. I don't think that those people are necessarily here in this. I don't get the impression that those people are here in this administration. I don't necessarily feel like there are enough people in the White House or in that orbit that will tell Donald Trump no. And that concerns me. That absolutely concerns me because I do feel like he is the personality type that will let his perceived victories go to his head.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so I especially because first and foremost, I think he legitimately believes that he was saved from the assassin's bullet by God for a particular reason. I think that he believes that. And you know what? Who am I to say it's not true? I'm just saying that how can something like that not go to your head literally? I don't think he's the kind of person that could avoid that. I don't think he's humble enough. So there's that part, right? And then there's the part where he's not going to be up for re-election. It ain't going to matter. He don't care what people think of what he wants to do because he doesn't have to run again, right?
At some point, does that cause friction, Paul? Because you're going to have to be like J.D. Vance, who is going to care about how it's portrayed because he is going to be the one running in 2028.
Yep. I will tell you right now, I would not want to be in that sphere in the fourth year of Donald Trump's term. Because at that point, J.D. Vance is going to be going, if this fucker does this or that, I'm going to have to disavow that when I'm running for president, or because whatever he does, he's going to run the risk of being pigeonholed on certain items when he runs for president in 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, there's no way Trump doesn't come out and back Vance because that would be an acknowledgement by Trump that he made the wrong choice, right? So there's no way Trump and Trump cannot be told he was wrong. He can't acknowledge it. He'll never admit it, right? He will find a way to double down and excuse whatever he does, even if he's wrong on something. And now, get me wrong, I'm not saying that makes him a bad president because he's making some decisions. And I love what he's doing with tariffs, for example. I love what he did. My wife explained to me some of the things in the big, beautiful bill with regards to taxes, death taxes, inheritance taxes, capital gains, and stuff like that. That for upper middle class, lower upper class people are incredibly beneficial. And I am not a proponent of, and again, my family doesn't have money, but I don't think it's right to take huge percentages of a person's lifetime earnings on, between death tax, inheritance taxes, and every other which way. I mean, there are places where you can lose 3/4 of your lifetime earnings to taxes if your stuff isn't set up, sometimes even more if your stuff isn't set up the right way. Lori could explain it more intelligently than I can. All I know is what's explained to me, and I don't want to pretend like I'm intelligent enough to talk about that stuff, but at least from what I understand, right? And people are like, oh, Trump's just trying to make the rich richer. No, I firmly believe what he's trying to do is help those upper middle class, lower upper class folks who have spent a lifetime earning a chunk of change. We're talking like less than $30 million kind of stuff, right? Middle-sized businesses, things like that. People who have taken a risk and have benefited from that risk by being successful, by whatever means, right? I think that's what America is based on. That's a founding principle, right? The idea of living the American dream. And I think that the way that our country has been doing it, especially Democrats, and you can look at Washington State and see it firsthand. See what Washington State does to your taxes when your parents die and you inherit stuff, especially if it's in Washington State. I think it's $3 million now. Okay. And so that's like your cap. So once you go over $3 million, that's when you start paying lots of taxes. So now that doesn't sound like much, right? But I look at my mom and Gordon, right? They just have a concrete pumping business, 3 concrete pumps. It's not like they're wildly successful, but they've done well. Well, guess what? They have 3 houses just in the suburbs. Those 3 houses alone, and the 2.5 acres they're on, that's almost $2 million right there. So by the time they pass in 15, 20 years, they're going to be worth more than $3 million. You see what I'm saying? So like, they're not wildly successful. They don't have money sitting in the bank. And my mom had half of her retirement taken to a gold Ponzi scheme. So she doesn't even have a goddamn retirement really to speak of anymore from 20 some years of working for the school district. And so people get this impression Trump's trying to make the rich people richer. It's not true. It's patently false.
Yeah. I've never felt like it was either party. I never felt like either party was trying to do something immoral as a general rule. Like, I just really believe that both parties believe that their way was the right way. Like the Republicans.
No, I would agree with you.
If you charge less taxes and you give small business the ability to grow, that it will be better for the economy and better for people as a whole. And Democrats believe that if you institute social programs, that it'll be better for society as a whole and blah, 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 right? Like, I don't believe that either one of the platforms were designed in this idea of we're going to sell this bullshit as gold and people are going to eat it up because they're stupid. Like, I think they really believe that those are ways to help make the world a better place.
I think you're right. Yep.
And neither one of them are wrong and neither one of them are right. Like, the truth is probably in the middle somewhere. Yeah. By the way, I do have breaking news from Babylon B, Paul.
From Babylon B?
Yeah, breaking news. Pam Bondi has come out tonight and confirmed that the Ark of the Covenant is sitting on her desk waiting to be reviewed. So
there you go. I yeah, I dig it.
And one other thing, so there's a group called the Native Americans Guardians Association. Have you heard about them?
No.
They're basically a nonprofit that advocates for Native American rights on issues that matter to them, right? They have now come out with a statement, and I'm going to read the statement, quote, "With national sanity restored, it's time to make the Commanders the Redskins again And then they called the commander's name, quote, a whitewashed team name.
Whitewash
wrong.
team name.
So like 6 or 7 years ago, it was like, this is racist. You got to change the name because the name is racist. And now we got to change the name back because changing the name was racist. Like, I saw a thing with who's that talk show guy on HBO, Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
And Bill Maher was talking about this, about how, you know, the targets keep getting moved. And he was talking about how he was talking about age. He was talking about well, first he's talking about how colleges allow those heritage scholarships, you know, like your family went there, so you get to go there. And he basically said, you know, sports is like the last bastion of people actually earning what they get. Yeah. Because you don't make it
really. Hold on. I mean, do you really believe that? Do you believe that?
Well, no, so let me explain his reasoning. Right? He was like, he was like, nobody gets signed to an NFL team and gets paid millions of dollars because their dad played on the NFL team.
Unless their name is Shedeur Sanders.
Well, no, they might get a break in an opportunity, but they're not gonna. But they're not gonna be around the league for a long time just based off of name. You know, that happens in politics. It happens in acting. He talked in there about how it's amazing how actors are now getting shit on because they do roles that are different roles. Like he talked about how one of the actors was playing a role and the role was a Mexican guy, but the guy who played it was Jewish. And now they're pissed off because it wasn't a Jewish guy that was cast for it, you know. But basically, Bill Maher was just getting back to let's let people do things based on merit, you know, instead of making everything a political argument. And it just this whole thing with the Redskins thing still being talked about all these years later just reminded me of that. Like, oh yeah, before it's a racist name, we got to change it, and now literally Native Americans are coming out and saying, put it back. You whitewashed our recognition, our heritage, our name, our affiliation.
What's the name of that baseball team from Cleveland?
Was the Indians, now it's the Guardians.
Yeah. I mean, same thing, right? What's that baseball team in Atlanta?
The Braves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good enough for people in Atlanta.
Well, and listen, take it one step further, right? In Tallahassee, in Florida, the Florida State Seminoles are named after a Native American tribe. Do you know why they have that name? Because they have an agreement with the Seminole Nation that allow them to use the name. Can we not?
Nothing wrong with that.
Can we not get our white guilt in a knicker twist?
Well, do you call it, is white guilt really what it is, though? I don't know anybody with white guilt.
No. Hold on. I think it totally suffers from white guilt, and that's why you don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it. I admit it.
Because you can look at this and be rational and say, you know, clearly a lot of Native Americans are found with these team names because it reflects their history and their heritage. I'm not going to lose my crap about it. But a lot of snowflake liberals living in their mom's basements, burning incense 3 times a week, are sitting around with their white guilt and a twist. Like, oh my God. We're calling them Indians. That's so disrespectful. I'm a white person. I better fix this because they certainly can't figure it out themselves. Morons.
Well, you know, a great example of that, Kevin, is do you know who were living the best during the Great Depression in this country? Do you know who had the highest standard of living and the highest income per capita in the entire country during the Great Depression?
Jews.
No. You're going to say Jews one more time? I'll be like, no again. No, it was the Native American tribe of the Osage.
Oh, okay. One tribe. I thought you were going to say Native Americans in general. I was
No,
going to say, hold on.
No, because the shitty piece of land they were forced onto by the United States government was what we now refer to as a rich fucking oil field.
Mhm.
And this was at the beginning of automobiles, and they had discovered, so it's and they still are per capita as far as Native American tribes go. They have the highest wealth because they learned very quickly how they were able to, lease the mineral rights to their land
Mhm.
to the white man. Was that? Do you call that the white man taking advantage of the Native American, or do you call that the Native American taking advantage of the white man? Right? They got mineral leases for that land. I don't think it's
Take it
any
one
of the
step
above.
further, man.
I think it's mutually agreeable. Yeah, go ahead.
Take it one step further, man. Native Americans got their own land, and then they put casinos on the land, and then they made money for the white people to come to their casinos and spend all their money at the casinos on the land. And then what they do is they took care of their own people better than the federal government could ever do.
Yes.
The medical programs in most tribes, especially on the coast. Now, when you get in the Midwest and some of those really poor tribes out there, they don't have the base to build a casino. There's not enough people out there. There's not enough people in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, to drive to some casino that's nowhere near people. But you get out to some of these tribes on the West Coast, Suquamish, Quinault, Puyallup, Tulalip. They're making all this money off of their casino, and then they're funneling that profit back into programs that cover caring for their people in ways that the federal government could take notes on how to do.
100%. And people don't realize, listen, people don't realize things like, the fact that Thomas Jefferson and other founding fathers studied for years the Iroquois Nation and how those 9 tribes, the Confederation of Tribes, ran their government. Our form of democracy came in large part from those Native American. Now, not just those, but those Confederation of Tribes and their version of governance helped set the standard, man. It really did. And I only bring that up because you brought up white guilt earlier, right? And it's like I think that's a misplaced attempt, and poor attempt at that, at character assassination of white people in an attempt to diminish their voice in any conversation that somebody doesn't like how it's going, if they're tipped over to the left. And we do have a crisis in this country now because and if you've read political science in any way, shape, or form, you know that there's one step prior to full-blown communism, and that's full-blown socialism, right? Socialism is the very next step from socialism is communism. And you have a guy that's about to become governor of the largest city in the country that is a full-blown, devout, admitted socialist.
Mayor.
Right?
Mayor.
So, mayor of New York City. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is when you look at the guy that lost to him in the primary, Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York State, right? He actually won the demographic of 45 and over. So who's propelling this young socialist into the into the mayor's seat? It's the Gen Z and millennials.
Well, hold on.
It's true. The numbers don't lie.
But I think you're missing a really important part to this story, Paul, which is
the haircut.
Cuomo was a damaged, flawed candidate from all the accusations made about him before.
I don't disagree.
And so
I don't disagree.
If he ran this socialist against a clean candidate, he probably wouldn't have won. This was a Democratic Party of New York's fault because they actively let a guy run that they knew could not get elected because he was so tainted and dirty. I said taint. He was so tainted and dirty that this will be a one-off, and they'll run a more normal Democrat against him in 4 years, and then this guy will get run out. This is a big story that happened.
You're talking about the largest city in this country with a population under the age of 35, who's now being promised a whole lot of free stuff. City-run grocery stores, hold on, I just think about that though, dude. I mean, he's promising the stars to his voters, and one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to find a way to somewhat produce those results, okay? And if he does that, New York's going to have nothing but fiscal problems around the corner, right? Or these young voters in New York are going to get pissed off as fuck when he doesn't make it happen. And I think we've seen what happens to leftists when they get pissed off. right? So I don't know. I'm shocked at the people of New York, that of the city, that there's a level of ignorance for voting for a full-blown socialist in a capitalistic system. There's such a disconnect there for the people who use their pencil to fill in that little circle. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, but the local press is going after him hard.
They are, and they should be.
He's a trust fund baby. He was born in Uganda, but he's actually of Indian descent. There's a lot of things that they're poking holes at. And the other thing we have to remember is Eric Adams is still running. He just chose not to be part of the primary.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. He's running as an independent. And you saw who came out on the Republican side of the primary. Like, the Republicans have no shot. Yeah. I mean, like that dude's going to get like 20% of the vote if he's lucky. Yeah. And Adams has had his own legal problems. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of Democrats are going to have a hard time voting for Adams because he was basically given, the get out of jail free card by Donald Trump. Right? Which I think is going to hurt Adams. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think the socialist wins. Running away.
I don't think so. Because you have too many immigrants.
I'll take that bet. One bottle of juice. Yeah. Listen, I agree. I hope you're right. I do. I hope Lori's right.
I'm really proud of the voters in New York for voting for the socialist, because what they said was, we are not.
It's not going to fucking grow it's not going to grow your hair back. Like, being nice to them is not going to help you. Rogaine.
Because what they basically said, is, we are not going to settle for a corrupt, dirty establishment dude. We're going to go some other way. And while, it could be disastrous for them in the long term, the fact that they as a city stood up and said, we are not going to settle for this kind of dirty, corrupt politician in our city anymore, I commend them for doing that. Now let's see what happens when they get to there goes Paul. We'll see what happens when they get to the election. Mm-hmm. Does he beat the incumbent Adams? I think Adams could still win re-election. I don't know if he will, but I think it'll be pretty close. Like Paul said, the Republican has no shot, not in New York City. But could the Republican win? He could, if you're splintering the vote. If you split that vote between the socialist candidate and the incumbent candidate, could a Republican squeak it out? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it depends how closely you split that vote and how many people vote Republican. It'll be interesting to see. I don't expect the Republican to win, but I also don't think it's impossible.
Right. Yeah.
I want to touch on one thing that Nancy said in chat.
Sure.
Nancy said white guilt is nothing more than virtue signaling by the left. Nancy, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to set that comment aside. I want you to be ready to expand your mind. Okay? Well, hold on. Here's Paul. Paul's back. So Paul's back.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm responding to Nancy's comment. So Nancy said in chat, white guilt is nothing more than virtue signaling by the left.
Agreed.
And I just told Nancy I wanted to put that aside, and I wanted to be ready to expand her brain.
What?
White guilt.
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure I understand. You want to expand a woman's brain. Do you realize what kind of trouble that can get you into?
Hey, listen.
I knew that was coming.
And Paul said,
so now you think women just aren't very smart. That's okay, man.
And Paul
nothing but trouble going to come from that.
Paul said white guilt is an attempt to diminish the input of a white person.
Yes.
But I want to challenge all of that. And I'm going to tell you what it's not, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. White guilt is not an attempt to diminish anything. And white guilt is not virtue signaling. Here's what white guilt really is. White guilt
of a white person.
Now listen, white guilt is real guilt felt by a white person towards minorities. Like, that's real. That's not a virtue signaling, and that's not an attempt by somebody else to silence a white person. That's a white person's attempt to silence themselves. Here's what white guilt really is. White guilt is racism in its purest and cleanest form by people on the progressive left. Because it is the belief that white people have to save minorities because they're not smart enough or bold enough or brave enough or intelligent enough to save themselves. It's the idea that a white
You're
person
talking about white savior complex, I think. Yeah.
but that's part of what I think white guilt is. To me, that's what it means to
Yeah.
me.
No,
Okay?
you got a good point.
The
Yeah.
idea that a white person can look at a scenario and say, oh, you are victimizing a minority, and they're not smart enough to see it themselves. It's what happened with the Washington Redskins name and the Cleveland Indians name. It's what happens every day when somebody on the left sees a black person that voted for Trump and feels like they've got to correct them because, boy, we know more than those black people do. They surely couldn't support Trump as a black person if they really knew what was going on. So we've got to correct them. It's what the federal government does with bureaus like the Bureau of Indian Affairs that has to handle Native Americans' properties and monies for them because they don't believe that Native Americans can handle their own house without the government over their shoulders telling them how to spend their money. No, white guilt is racism from the left in the purest form.
Mm-hmm.
That's what white guilt. Go ahead, Paul.
I mean, it's nice that we agree so much on that topic. And here's why I say that, because a few years ago, we had a caller from Bainbridge Island call into the show. And I don't even remember his name. That's how much he didn't meet. You remember the guy I'm talking about. The only time we ever took a showdown. And there was an instance in that, I won't even call it a conversation because it wasn't really a conversation. But he was talking about, it was right when Juneteenth became a holiday. And he was basically saying that anybody that wasn't out actively trying to, I forget exactly how he put it, but he was just making the point that it was a white person's responsibility to do everything they could to go out and find every black person they could and make their life better, right? And so I pointed out to you, I said, well, Kevin, how does it feel to be called a racist? And do you remember what your response was to that?
No.
You said, oh, I'm not being called a racist. I'm Native American. I'm not white. And
that's right. By the way, look at his face. I'm pretty damn white. It's just me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Paul and you look at me, I'm whiter than Paul is. Like,
yeah. It's true. It's true. But the reason I just want to say that it is what you just described is a way that I think a lot of people really feel. I mean, when you talk about the raw issues behind those conversations, right? They're very real. Like, a lot of people do not have. Okay, let me rephrase that. Take a step back. A lot of white people don't have the level of defensive, if you will, to be able to have that conversation and have that be thrown in their face and not just clam up. Like, I think most of them, like everybody that's on this show, we have an ability to talk, we have an ability to defend ourselves, to take a position on things and express how we feel without feeling guilty or being bullied or anything else into taking a particular position. I don't think most people possess that ability, frankly. I think most people, when they get accused of having white fragility or, a white man's savior complex or, or get accused of white guilt and stuff like that, I don't think they possess the ability to punch back. And to have you say that eloquently, by the way, I think there's something to that, and it needs to be said more because it truly does diminish real conversation. And I'm talking about conversation that gets us somewhere. It gets us somewhere, man. Because how many times have you heard somebody? Come on, Bella. Come on, side. How many times have you seen or heard somebody who has something to say, and it's a legitimate conversation? Because it's happened to me so much over the abortion issue, where, and God, I mean, I can't even count how many times I've been told that because I'm a man, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on the topic, right? You're a white guy. You can't talk about, slavery. You can't talk about reparations. You need to shut up, and just listen, right? Same thing, and like I said, with abortion too. I mean, so that realization that you just stated is something that needs to be more clearly stated more often so that people can understand it. And that, because the more we shut people down, the less and the fewer conversations people have, like I had to really sit and question myself, and I'll use my conversations with Lilyhammer, for example, or Lilith, or what was his name? I don't remember. Anyway, the trans dude that was on the show, right? Yeah, thank you. That's it. Because these are conversations when people just start shutting you down, referring to you as a bigot and stuff like that. No, people have real opinions about this stuff, man. And it's not based in bigotry. It's not based in ignorance. You can't go through life as I'm going to just say this. Democrats go through life and take positions on political issues based on their feelings about them, generally speaking, right? It's about their feelings. It's not about the, unfeeling affected facts, right? I'm not saying, I think you need to have a little bit of emotion backed up in your feelings, but you need to be able to articulate it. And what we shouldn't be doing is living our lives in a manner in today's divided country where that's the position people are taking 9 times out of 10. Well, how does this make you feel? No, I want to talk about the facts behind the issue, not about how it makes me feel. And anyway, can you do me a favor? This is going to sound like a little bit of a challenge to you, Kevin, but it's really not. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe I'm just subconsciously trying to camouflage it for you so that you'll actually do it and not push back. Can you post that, or would you post that on your Facebook page? I'm saying this not to fuck with you, but I'm curious about what kind of responses you would get. Like, I could post it, dude, but I'd only get maybe 20 or 30 people. I think if you posted it, you get 150 responses, Yeah,
will you remind me later this week, though? Because I'm out of town and I got a long day of driving tomorrow. And but will you remind me later this week? I'm off all week, so I'll do it this week. Just help me remember.
Cool. No, I think that's awesome. By the way, and because I haven't been in there much in the last month, when is your family reunion?
We're not doing one this week.
You're not doing that this year?
No, we're not doing one this year.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little. My knickers are in a twist a little bit about it, but we're not doing one this year.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject.
This weekend, hanging out with my nephews and stuff was kind of a sub family reunion plan.
Okay. Okay.
But not the same. But
all right. Very good.
But again, listen. I want to go back to one thing though. Keep in mind, the only people screaming about white guilt are people on the left that are trying to fix things they did not create, that they cannot fix themselves, and assigning a responsibility to themselves in many cases for things that the impacted communities are not even complaining about.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's that. So, anybody who says the white guilt is not a real thing, no, it's very much a real thing.
It is. Yeah.
People in society and some members of our community are feeling guilty because they're white. And I get it. But it doesn't make it real. It doesn't make it productive. And frankly, it's disingenuous, right? Like, I've talked to enough. What was his name? Who was the big African American guy we had when we did the show at my house and he came in? You remember who I'm talking about? Big Trump supporter dude.
He was a friend of Ben Compton's.
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't either.
Please,
now that's gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Please try telling him that you know more about how he should vote, because he's a black guy and he needs to be voting left and Democrat, and because it's important to what his life experience is and how he should. And you, please, as a white person, please tell him how he should be voting. Please, that's like white splaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, white guilt is white splaining. Let's use that. Anyway,
there was a great video, and I'll see if I know I posted it in our chat a couple weeks ago. I'll see if I can find it again. Where you have this white progressive liberal lady. She's on this podcast with an African American female host, and she's telling this story, and it's being commented on by 3 conservative black men. And they point out as they listen to her, because she tells this story about how her neighborhood's 95% white, and it's in the suburb down in Texas in Austin, so it's a very liberal area. And she's like, she was walking down the street and she saw this new family moving in and they were black, and she was thoroughly excited, right? Because she's like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you. We're finally getting some diversity in our neighborhood, da 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 da, right? And as she's explaining that, these three black conservative men are pointing out, do you think she knows how racist she sounds right now? Like, because they're making the point that, like, if diversity was an issue for her, she could have bought a house in a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's a really good point.
But listen, think about this. What tilted the election to Trump? It was African American men and Latino.
Yeah.
How arrogant do you have to be as a white person to think you're going to educate African American men and Latinos about why they were wrong to vote for who they voted for? How arrogant do you have to be as a prissy white liberal, normally woman, to think that you're going to lecture Latinos and African American men about why they were wrong to who they voted for? Like, you somehow know better.
I don't know, but you see the shit-eating grin on Lori's face over there? Because, I mean, he did run for state representative as a Democrat. I'm just saying.
How arrogant are you to think that you know more than they do? That you have any idea about what their lived experiences are? That you are somehow more knowledgeable about the plight that impacts the Latino and African American communities, that you and your little white snowflakedom have any idea why they should not have voted the way they voted, and that you're going to educate them. When Marco Padilla ran for state rep, he talked about this. How many people got pissed off at him because as a Latino man, he was running as an independent and leaning right rather than just blanket supporting the left in Kitsap County. Like,
well, and don't forget that man supported the Republican Party. Like, he was in deep with the Republican Party.
Yeah. Feel free to be guilty. Feel free to be guilty if you're white. Feel free to feel guilty if you're liberal.
It's the taking over of HR.
Huh?
It's the taking over of HR of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Everything that you're seeing come out on a Democrat platform has been in the HR world for like the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. But you're not doing a disservice. White guilt is, and white splaining and is a form of white supremacy. It is a form of racism.
Oh yeah.
That you know more and you take it upon yourself to educate. You're nothing better than the Christian missionaries in the 1800s.
Yes.
That's who you are. Knock yourselves
out. In the 1700s and the 1600s and the yeah, 100%, Kevin.
Angle. Look, man, I am in a questionable hotel in Gresham, Oregon, sitting on a questionable couch that probably has more DNA on it than just anywhere else I've been in my entire life.
Yeah. You do a few Google searches there, Kevin, on that room number in that hotel, just to see how many videos were filmed there. Okay.
No. I might do it when I check out tomorrow, but no.
Did you bring some Clorox wipes?
No, but I probably should have. Yeah, I'm just
listening. Where are you driving to tomorrow?
So tomorrow I'm going to check out of here about 8 a.m. I'm going to go back to the campground because we camped out. I camped out with everybody else on Friday night, but then I had to come down here and do homework. You weren't here for that part of this. So we all came down on Friday and camped out in at Cold Creek, which is what I call dirt camping. No power, no running water, nothing, just literally middle of nowhere camping.
That's the best kind.
I loved it, but I had homework I had to get done. So I got a hotel room so I'd have access to being able to do the homework. So tomorrow morning, I'll check out here about 8:30. Go back out to the campground, help everybody load out, and then I think some of us are going to try to come back south and go to Multnomah Falls, which I've never seen before, but I've heard it's just gorgeous. K-Dog looking like Les Luthor. Yes, Kevin, thank you. I'm an evil villain. I appreciate that. And then once we go to Multnomah Falls, we'll double back and head back to Kitsap. I've got an appointment in Gig Harbor at 4:30. I got to be back for. So I did survive dirt camping. I thought it was a hoot. Honestly, I thought it was great, and I would gladly do it again. But yeah, so tomorrow maybe
make sure you post where your birthday party is going to be, because I'll be there Friday.
We'll be at SOPAC, pal, Paul.
You mean South Pacific?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be at
Okay. Okay.
So
very good.
Let's see. The falls are amazing, Tegan. I'm gonna go look at those tomorrow, I hope. Margie says church, marriage, and having kids is all disappearing. Margie, I don't know where you're getting that from. The church,
I think she's right.
No, I don't think so. The church has seen a huge resurgence post-COVID in millennial ages of people coming back to the church.
That's because a lot of them are going through breakups.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the church has seen growth in youth group ages and millennial, teens and 20s of people coming back to the church. I don't know about marriage numbers or having kids, but I don't know if I agree with that. I think a lot of that is liberal talking points and Christian wanting people to feel bad for them. Oh, people aren't coming back to church anymore. Oh, we're so persecuted. Look, Christians, you're not persecuted. Knock it off. You're really not. Nobody of faith in this country is persecuted. Nobody. Nobody. Please stop claiming you are. Because I'm a Christian.
Hold on. Would you acknowledge that Christians were discriminated against during the COVID era?
Oh God, yes. But
Okay.
Today, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
And by the way, the reason why Christians were persecuted during COVID was because we Christians allowed ourselves to be.
I don't disagree with that. Yep.
We allowed ourselves to sit back and take a back seat. If Christians as a whole had stood up and said, by the way, F off, we're going to have service every Sunday and we're going to do what we do. And we dare you to come deal with us. Because some churches did that towards the end of COVID and the state did literally nothing.
Yeah.
So churches shut down under the essentially the request of the Inslee administration, but there was no teeth to it and there was no enforcement to it. And we all just kind of stepped back and let them make us their bitch. And that should have never have been allowed to happen. And I know a lot of churches that never shut down. The church that I go to now is not the church I was attending during COVID, but this church never shut down. They had service every Sunday and they had worship every Sunday and people came to the building every Sunday. And they were told, if your immune system is compromised or you think you might be sick, stay home. But if not, come to church because it's where you're supposed to be. And this church never got any blowback. And they're in Central Kitsap, which is more liberal than South Kitsap. So, yeah, I mean, I think that. So actually, I'm going to change my answer, Paul. You said were churches discriminated against during COVID? No, because the
you don't get to change your answer. No. Listen up, bitch. You don't get to change your answer. You said it. You gave the answer I was looking for. That's it. Conversation's over.
But now that I've
take your white guilt and go sit aside.
Huh? What?
I said, take your white guilt and go sit over on the side.
I hate you. And I hope you die on fire. I don't think that churches were victimized at all any more than they allowed themselves to be victimized.
Well, you can say I don't disagree with you a lot. That's just a horrible argument. You've been doing so good tonight, and then you come up with that wholly bad argument at the end of the show. Churches allowed themselves to be victimized. Yeah, so did the Jews. I mean, so did black people, right? I mean,
the difference was Jay Inslee was not sending out anybody to enforce it. He said, "You guys need to shut down because."
But they were. They were in a lot of other places.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
were.
Canada. They were arresting preachers
Mhm.
and parishioners. So I never brought up just Washington State. You did as part of your defense
Oh
strategy.
well,
So
I'm talking about nationally. Now in Canada, where they sure they were, but again, I
Nationally,
don't
they were
recall.
too. In
Huh?
the South, they
yes,
were
I don't know.
bringing out police to arrest them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But churches
but
allowed
speaking
them.
of which,
Hold on.
did you guys? Yeah.
The calling of the gospel is to do the right thing all the time, right? So if you really believe that you belong to God's kingdom, then the government telling you not to meet for church is irrelevant. You're still going to do what God has called you to do. And if
Yeah,
you shut
that's a
down
tough one.
if you shut down your churches because the government told you to, then you're probably missing the boat.
Well,
Now,
I don't know. I think that's a
whatever. I don't know.
that's a bad argument, though, Kevin. I understand you making it, and I don't fault you for it, but it's a bad argument because if that's the case, and if that's really what priests and parishioners and everybody were thinking about, we wouldn't have had an entire sex scandal from Catholic priests, right? So they're just trying to do what's right. No, no.
Hey, listen. If you go to the New Testament, Paul, you saw countless disciples imprisoned and murdered for spreading the gospel according to the New Testament. So
listen, the last time I tried to utilize the New Testament, dude, I thought it said get stoned with your wife. Okay, so I am not perfect. I make mistakes, and I misinterpret. I wear bifocals. Give me a little grace on this one, okay?
Yeah. By the way, I do want to point out Kevin Nelson's correct. The new Superman movie is out. It has my good friend Nathan Fillion in it.
Oh, really? I like him as an actor. He's a kick in the pants.
Me and Nathan Fillion go way back. I got photos to prove it. So my buddy Nathan Fillion's in there, and yeah.
All right. Well, listen, brother, I gotta let you go. I got 2% left battery life on my phone, so I don't want it to cut out on me. And you're all looking around and going, "Where the hell did Paul go?"
Like you have a 3-hour show today. You're only 2 hours and 13 minutes into it.
No. You know what? My contract got voided, so I don't know what to tell you.
Before you go,
can I what?
Smug bastard.
Can I do what?
Can you give some parting shots before you go, you smug little bastard?
Oh, parting shots. Yeah, this one's really easy. Dan Bongino needs to take a deep breath and a step back, and Pam Bondi needs to take a deep breath and take a step forward, right? She's got to acknowledge why what she said was being misinterpreted, not just double down, right? Fox News and Peter Doocy need to acknowledge the intentional misinterpretation of the vague sentence that she made, right? Like, I'm able to see how people are talking past each other on this particular topic, and it needs to stop because I think it's being done for personal glorification. Bongino, and I'm a big Bongino fan, but I think he's taking a tough man approach on something that it doesn't need to be there. And I think Donald Trump needs to be a leader to the people in his cabinet, right? He needs to get them all into a room, kind of what our guest earlier said, right? Get him in a room, be a leader, put his hand down and say, because only they know the truth, right? We don't. If there is a list, if there is whatever, right? They know it. So I'm just, I don't know. They claimed that it was the Southern District of New York that was holding all the paperwork, and then Bondi said she had it on her desk to go through it, but then there was nothing new. But in the interview, she said it was going to make people sick. So listen, there's some definite fudgery going on with regards to the whole issue, and it is a legitimate black eye right now for the Trump administration, and he does need to get it under control as far as domestic policy goes. So it's just a shit situation.
Do you not think that Bongino should resign, or do you want him to?
I do not think he should resign. I think that his threat of resignation was immature. It was in very poor taste, and it's never a good idea to publicly make statements like that. It just isn't. If you're gonna do that and you're gonna resign, then just do it. You don't need to threaten it publicly. So, I don't know. We'll see. And I love the fact, by the way, that the Department of Justice is now looking into the people that were thoroughly behind the Russia hoax. Because I've said it for years. That was nothing more than straight up election interference. It was an attempt to sway the election against Donald Trump in 2016, and it impacted full 3 years of his first presidency. The disservice that it did to this country was monumental, and the people that were responsible for it need to be called to account for it. So and for those that don't know, they are being investigated by the Department of Justice, and they are looking. We're talking about Jim Comey and other people from the Obama administration. And I think that it's pretty clear that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were absolutely 1,000% behind it. Now, they may never have no comeuppance from it, but they should. So, if you're a sitting president and you try to interfere with an election, should you be free from prosecution for that? I don't think so. I think you should face
the Supreme Court ruling wouldn't, that granted Trump some level of protection would not apply to this, because
it wouldn't. You're right, because it would not have been it would not have happened in him doing his duty as president, right?
Yeah. All right, Paul. I love you, buddy.
Right.
We are going to be back in our regular studio next Sunday. I'm hoping you can join us. It's been a long.
We'll see. We'll see. I think that I will be able to, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a range officer for next Saturday, but not for Sunday. So I may not be open Sunday.
So, John Walker just posted in chat, Paul. I want to get your feedback on this before you leave.
Sure.
John Walker said, rumor, Matt Gaetz had a meeting with Trump, special prosecutor.
Oh, I hope. Well, he may, but I hope it's not Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz has way too much baggage.
Yeah.
Way too much baggage. He's just. I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked Matt Gaetz as a congressman, but dude has made some very poor decisions that would bring his abilities into question. So he was a horrible choice for the attorney general position. I think I made that pretty clear when it came out. I loved it on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm like, I thought there was no way dude was getting confirmed. I'm glad he dropped out.
Indian reporting Matt Gaetz skipping Charlie Kirk event where he was supposed to speak to meet Trump in Washington, as calls for fire Pam Bondi grow and substitute with Matt Gaetz.
Oh, geez. I hope not. Pam Bondi's doing a fine job.
Yeah.
She's not been embroiled in controversy or anything else any more than anybody else has.
The one thing the Trump administration needs, and the one thing this nation needs, is some stability.
Mm-hmm.
And if it turns into a revolving chair of people leaving that administration, it just further destabilizes confidence. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
We need some standardization and some normalcy for a bit. Paul, we love you. I'll see you at my birthday on Friday at SOPAC.
Yeah, you'll see me. Somehow I'll manage to find my way down there. Fucking hate going down there, man. There's nowhere to park.
She gonna stay home and avoid the chaos?
No. We've got some things going on our end, so it'll just be me. So I love you guys.
She can make it anyway.
I will. All right. Good night, guys.
And if she can't make it, ask her to please let you take your balls out of her purse and take them out with you.
Yeah, I got the quick disconnect switch. Yes.
All right.
Good night, children. Good night.
Good night.
All right, Lori. Before you and I do our parting shots, let's take a look at some of the comments in chat. Nancy said,
Andrew Kennedy.
Oh, I know. He's been all over me tonight in my weirdly shaped head. Ginger Kennedy, F off. Hey, how did the national title run go last year? Oh, wait, you didn't. Ohio State got it. Ginger Kennedy, Kevin has a hard time finding hats that fit for sure. No, I don't. Look, got a hat right here. Fits just fine. Covers the noggin just perfectly. Shut up.
Nancy mentioned that Gaetz could stay behind the scenes and help with research.
He certainly could. I mean, he's a sharp cookie, but he's a big name. It would be weird to me if he was just a background dude.
Mm-hmm.
As Paul said, maybe Bondi is forced out and Gaetz takes her place. But holy cow, man! some stability is what is needed. You know, and it's not a big ass hat there, dude. It's a normal sized hat. It's just a ball cap, man. Okay, other comments. Junior Kennedy, Kevin's head looks like he took Viagra incorrectly. You think this head's big?
I didn't see that. Here, J. Andrew, this is for you.
Yeah, Junior Kennedy also said the Lex Luthor jokes weren't funny. I see some Pixar Mega Mind comedy here. Sorry, Kevin, you got a funny head. It's all the brains, man. It's all that knowledge stored up in here, man. Are you married, Jandrew Kennedy? That's what I'm curious about. Tegan, hey guys and gals, totally planning on coming over for Kevin's birthday, but the fire just over the border is getting pretty bad. We are pretty socked in with smoke. If it doesn't head south, I'll be there. Just travel safely, Tegan. I would love for you to be there, but would much rather you just make sure you're safe. And so whatever you try to do, just make sure you're safe in doing it. Jandrew Kennedy with another one. Paul's dial-up internet sounds great. No, it doesn't. That he says he's on Starlink. I think he's on 2 tin cans and a piece of string. Jandrew Kennedy, if Kevin came into my church or feeling like that, I'd ask him to stay home. Shut up. I sing on the worship team with my head like this. Nancy, churches by and large in Texas didn't close. But again, you have a Republican administration that wasn't trying to enforce mandates like the Democrat administration was up here. So it's apples and oranges. Terry, my church was shut down only because a parent church in Lacey decided we were shut down. Again, that's the same church I was going to, Terry. I'm well aware. Again, I think that churches allowed themselves to be silenced. They weren't, at least in Washington, which is all I can base my experience off of.
Yeah.
They weren't silenced by the Inslee administration. Inslee said not to open, and they said, okay, I'll just not open. They allowed themselves to be silenced. And I think there's some bigger questions that have to take place there. And if Pastor Dave Minton down at Capitol in Olympia doesn't agree, I'd love to, we can talk to him on the show about why he decided to do it. Him and the board at Capitol were the larger body at that church, where I was a member of the church locally in Port Orchard that was a spinoff from them. They made the decision to close down. I think they made the decision they thought was right. I'm not calling them out for it, but I think people can ask questions. Why did you shut down? I think that's a valid question to have. And if you're still a member of that church, which I am not, you should be able to ask him that question. He should be willing to answer it. So I love Dave. I think he's a tremendous man of God, a wonderful guy. I really do love him. But I think some people could have valid questions about that, and I think that they should be able to answer it. Rick liked the inclusion of crypto. I'm a little afraid that the new Superman movie is going to be a little too campy for me. Oh, they're going to do little Poppy with superpowers, and Poppy can fly. Oh, shut up. But I'm afraid to watch the movie. I'm afraid I'm going to hate it because it's going to be too campy and too smarmy.
It's a throwback to the Christopher Reeve era of Superman. In fact,
there was no crypto in the
Will.
Christopher Reeve era. There was no crypto in the Christopher Reeve era.
Okay, but I'm just saying that's what his comment was. And then also Will Reeve, Christopher Reeve's son, was also in the movie as a cameo.
Well, that's a good feel-good story. I just heard this is a little more tongue-in-cheek, and that there's a cute dog in there. And Margie says crypto is crap. Margie, we're not talking about crypto as in the currency. We're talking about crypto, the dog in the Superman movies. Crypto is short for Krypton, which is the planet they came from. It's not about crypto, the currency. All right. The falls are amazing. Tegan says, hopefully I'll find out tomorrow. Yeah, and I survived dirt camping. All right, I think we're all caught up. Margie says brains. Yes, there's a lot of brains up in here. Junior Kennedy, take the hat off. I'm running out of jokes. Fine, I'm proud of the bald head, man. Proud of it. My dad was bald too, as my dad called it. My dad said it was a solar panel for a sex machine. So I'm just gonna call that good.
I've never heard that before.
Nancy said they had a mask mandate at church for about 4 months at the ones in Texas. Terry said the church sold our building and chose to be a jerk about it, that she left the organization when they separated in 21. Yeah, I'm not going to air all that dirty laundry. I feel the same way you do about it, Terry. I thought it was bogus BS, but I'm not going to air all that. That's not my bag. I probably said more than I would normally have said tonight. Rick said it wasn't campy. It was pretty good. Reeve, the golly gee, oh heck soups. And Jeremy Kennedy said, whatever, nerds. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll watch the movie at some point. I'd like to see it in theater just because I think superhero movies, superhero and Star Wars movies are best seen on a big screen.
Mhm. And Mission Impossible.
Yeah, listen. Oh, Mission Impossible. Yeah. A couple of things I want to point out before we wrap up the show and give our closing shots.
Sure.
One, if you are local, Ginger Kennedy, Kevin looks like his brain is erect. Always. Kevin Nelson said, thanks for the compliment. I'm not sure who you meant that to, Kevin. I hope you didn't think I insulted you in that sarcasm, because I would never insult you, my buddy. If you live locally and you want to come out to the big K-Dog karaoke birthday celebration, it'll be on Friday night, July 18th at the South Pacific, which is what I would entitle a dive bar. Down by the ferry terminal downtown, but it is downtown. It's a larger venue, so it can handle peeps. I know of at least 35 people that are going, and it could be considerably more than that. Let's pack the place out and eat a lot of food and drink a lot of drink and sing a lot of karaoke songs and have a great time. No drama, no political talk, just a whole bunch of hanging out, having a good time. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want to hype up Whaling Days. So if you're not local and you've never heard of Whaling Days, Tegan, let me tell you what Whaling Days is. Whaling Days is a local community festival held on the waterfront in Silverdale. It is full of vendors and food, live music, beer garden. This year they're going with a Star Wars theme. I don't know why, because it's not the 50th anniversary. That'd be next year. But they did a Star Wars theme. So on Friday night, Lori, you're going to love this. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a local country guy whose name suddenly escapes me, but he's pretty popular local. People like him. And he's going to play on the main stage. And then the family area, they're going to have a 12-foot large video screen. And on Friday night, they are going to play the movie that I hate the most, second most, Princess Bride. Can't make this crap
That's
up.
amazing.
It's like God's punishing me. Yeah, God's punishing me. And then on Saturday night, they're going to play Star Wars, Episode 4, the original Star Wars, on the big screen. And then on the other stage, they're going to have a Beastie Boys cover band. Oh, and I'm sorry. And on Friday night, after the live act, they're going to do fireworks.
Oh, okay.
On Saturday night, they're going to play Star Wars on the video screen. They're going to have a Beastie Boys tribute band. And then after the Beastie Boys band, they're going to do a drone show with the same people that did the drones on America's Got Talent a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I believe it's a Star Wars themed drone show. It's going to be amazeballs. We're going to have a Star Wars costume contest. A lot of the vendors are getting involved in the Star Wars theme. It's going to be a really, really, really great time. And I personally know the guy who's the MC that's doing all the mic work for them this year. He's outstanding. So when you come, make sure you tell people you're there to see K-Dog be the MC. That's why you showed up.
I did not know this. Did you know this? That they have scholarships?
Who does?
Whaling Days.
Whaling Days has scholarships? I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You must be from Central Kitsap, Olympic, Kalahoya, Secondary, Barker Creek Community, or West Sound Technical Skills Center.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Huh.
The Whaling Days is not this weekend. It's the following weekend, the 25th through the 27th. Again, it's a great time. The only knock I have on Whaling Days is they don't have carnival rides anymore. But frankly, I don't think they have room for carnival rides anymore. There's so many vendors down there now, so many food trucks. They're going to have an ice rink, they're going to have a skating rink this year. I don't know if it's ice or roller, but they're going to have a skating rink. Kitsap Great Escape is going to be down there with their 10-minute escape room game. The local VR people are going to have a VR arena set up down there. Live music all weekend. It's just going to be great. So if you're in the neighborhood and you want to stop by, have a good time there, it's free to get into. So you pay for parking unless you want to park down the street and park in front of the grocery outlet, bargain market, and walk down. You can do that. And that's free. But it's free to get in, a lot of vendors. It really is a great time. I hope that people take advantage of it and support it. Rick says most of the local parades are run by nonprofits that offer scholarships. That's true. Rick, will you be down at Whaling Days? Will I see you that weekend? And then J. Andrew Kennedy, if Kevin doesn't stop rubbing his head, I'm going to have to make a number 3. What is a number 3, Rick? Or J. Andrew Kennedy, what is that? Number 3. It feels so good to rub my head. One day I'll get a wife that'll rub my head for me. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Or
Well, I have one thing to add before we do
please.
parting shots. So next Sunday, 7 p.m., we have Greg Wheeler, who is the current mayor, going for re-election.
Mayor of Bremerton. Hold on. The illustrious mayor of Bremerton, Mayor Wheeler, running for re-election. He's got a few people he's running against. Some of them will be on the show in the coming weeks, but Greg Wheeler will be on the show.
Yeah. And that's at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, one of his competitors, Marwan Cameron, who's also running for mayor of Bremerton.
I didn't know that Marwan confirmed. That's big news.
Confirmed today. So
is Marwan going to be in person?
Yes, they both are.
Oh, so they're going to have that awkward moment where they pass each other.
Well, I think if you wrap up like around 7:35, 7:40 with Greg Wheeler, then Marwan will miss. Otherwise, they can say hey to each other.
Well, whatever we do, we got to be fair to both of them. So if we cut
exactly.
Wheeler off at 45, we got to cut Marwan off at 45.
Okay. And then I have feelers out to Jeff Coughlin still. And then also I'm closer to getting one of the sergeants, either Kuntz or Bogues, not Bogus, but Bogues, from the woman commits sex crime in the parking lot of Poulsbo Walmart.
That's a couple years old, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to have him on. That'd be hilarious to talk about.
Yeah.
Rick said 17 years and I've never been to Whaling Days, never know where to park, maybe this year. Rick, I think I have a parking pass coming. So because I am doing the MC work. So if you would like, you can park down at the big parking lot next to Kitsap Great Escape, and I will pick you up and you can come down and park in with me. And then if you want to leave before I'm done, you can walk back from there. So reach out to me. You got my number. You know how to reach me. All right.
Chopped liver over here.
I mean, I'll drive you in too. That's totally fine. You just have to work around my schedule, and I've got to be there. Like literally Friday, I'm there from probably 2 or 3 until close, and then Saturday I'm going to be there from noon to close, and Sunday I'll be there noon to close. So. Terry says, I want a full hour with Greg Wheeler. What you want in your personal time is none of my business. So I can ask him why homelessness is still a problem, even though he's had almost a decade to solve the problem. Good question. Yeah, good question. Be more specific with the question, though. Give him some specific things to respond to. Yeah. Okay. Parting shots, Lori, from Lori's Beads and Toys. Are you going to have a booth at Whaling Day?
What?
Are you going to have a booth at Whaling Day?
No, I don't have enough stock. I keep selling out.
Okay.
Parting shots. Wow. So it's going to be super hot like it was today, but that's going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday. So if you don't have air conditioning, look at different resources. I don't know if personally in Kitsap County, they're going to have cooling centers, but if you're in other counties in Washington, they do have cooling centers. You can go to Lowe's, you can go Home Depot. If you have dogs or cats, as long as they're leashed, you can take them as well into Lowe's and Home Depot. If you have a Costco membership, go there. Try to keep yourself cool. If you don't have any air conditioning, if you do have air conditioning, be conscious of just running it when it's the hottest so that you stay cool.
Can I piggyback on that?
Sure. Go for it.
please check on your neighbors, check on the
Yes.
elderly, check on the people that may not have the ability to take care of themselves. The other thing I'm going to do on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, since I am off and I have the ability to do that, I'm going to go pick up 2 or 3 cases of water, and I'm going to drive downtown, down to MLK in Bremerton, and I'm just going to drop off 2 or 3 cases of water.
Good
I'm
idea.
just going to set it on the side of the road, and I'm going to drive off. I'm not going to interact with anybody because I don't need to. This isn't about a thank you. This is about how can I do something. Listen, 3 cases of water is going to run you about $12.
Yep.
So you're not going to be breaking your bank to leave some water for some people that are going to be enduring some horrible weather, whether they're homeless or not. However you feel about the homeless people, get the fuck over yourself and drop off some water. It really isn't hard and it's not that expensive. So I'm probably going to do that both days, Tuesday and Wednesday. And maybe Thursday. Thursday's my birthday, by the way. I'm going to ask Greg Wheeler next Sunday why I haven't gotten a parade yet. That's true. You know, they opened Quincy Square. Where's K-Dog Square? Let's be honest. Where's K-Dog Square? Why don't I have a square? My contributions is immeasurable. But I'll be sure to ask them about that. So yeah, no, but seriously, go pick up a couple cases of water, drive downtown. You don't need to interact with anybody. You don't need to talk to anybody. Just drop it off. They'll figure it out and they'll appreciate it. And it could honestly save somebody down there. So,
Definitely.
All right. You got any other parting shots, Lori?
No, just happy birthday. We'll see you on Friday.
Okay.
Enjoy. That's
Again,
it.
my parting shot is 9 p.m. South Pacific Sports Bar, I think is what it's called. But it's called South Pacific. It's right downtown in Bremerton by the ferry terminal. We'll be down there doing some karaoke. If you know me in the real world, come on down and say hi. If you don't know me in the real world, come on down and say hi. But don't think I'm going to talk politics because I'm not. Depending on what time you get there, I'm going to be so liquored up on tequila, I'm not going to be able to form a tangible thought. But it'll be a really good time, a good opportunity to support a local business and get out and just enjoy yourselves and have a good experience. So hope to see however many of you want to make it down there, except for you, Jay Andrew Kennedy. Keep your ass in Michigan. The only other parting shot I've got is just be good to each other. This is a South Pacific, 218 First Street in Bremerton. This is a really divisive time in our nation's history. People are mean to each other all the time for reasons that shouldn't really matter. People are losing friendships because you voted for this person. I think that's a bad idea. I got a guy that I kind of like, this Canadian, but he has taken to just being so caustic and hostile to anybody who voted for Trump that I can't be friends with him because I just can't take the vitriol every day. I can't take the anger and the hatred every day. And I can't handle the fact that he's ignored my personal experience, which is why I voted the way that I did. That somehow that makes me a racist and a bigot. Let's not do that to each other. Let's not live like that. Let's not be those kind of people. Let's not live in an echo chamber. Let's surround ourselves with people of all different walks, all different faiths, all different opinions, all different ideologies, so that we don't become this encapsulated blob of hate to everybody that doesn't think it like us. So let's just love on each other. Let's like this week, just figure out a way that you haven't loved on somebody different than you, and whatever your gift is to do that, just love on them that way. Maybe it's you pay at the coffee shop for the idiot behind you with the opposing political party's bumper sticker, or maybe you have a conversation with somebody that's a different faith or whatever that is. Just do something different and branch out. Not so you get saved and not so you save them, but so you maintain some humanity in all this just garbage that we live with now. I really am going to focus on being better that way. I think that's my goal as my birthday's coming. My birthday resolution for the next year is to be a little bit better at that. So, Rick says, great segue. Is that how you spell segue? Is that right, Lori?
I'm not sure.
To having Ashley on to discuss Wassell. I don't know what Wassell is. I don't know who Ashley is. But hook me up, Rick. I'll have
Ashley Matthews. She's coming on July 27th.
What is she talking about?
Let me
booking
pull up my
guests in my absence. Like I go out of town to go dirt camping, and I get back, and Lori's booked like 3 different guests. When
Bainbridge
is-
Island Mayor to discuss the Washington Collaborative Elective Leaders Institute
she's
and
a
Braver
Bainbridge
Angel.
mayor. Okay.
And
Okay.
in her email, she stated, trying to get everybody to purple so we can talk.
Okay.
Why are you
all right.
putting
I
your
didn't
hands?
realize that was the Bainbridge mayor. I thought that was another different guest.
Oh, yeah. And Rick, you are correct. That is the way to spell Segway.
Wow. Doesn't even look like Segway. Like
I
I
know.
thought Segway was Segway, which is how they spell the little Segway bikes.
Yeah, that's a brand.
No, but I thought that's how they spelled it. Like if I used the word Segway in a college paper, that's how I would have spelled it.
Yeah.
All right. We love you guys. We appreciate you. We've gone way over. Please, Tegan, be safe up north in the middle of nowhere, where you guys are still using AOL broadband. Just be safe with all the fires out there. Everybody else, take care of yourselves. We love you. We'll see you next Sunday in studio. Black Ring Spirits back with Tom. And we know Paul's not going to be there on time. Why would he?
And Dennis.
And Dennis will be there too. And
Music.
yeah. And then, and then again, Bremerton Mayor Greg Wheeler and Marwan.
Cameron.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, peeps. Can I ask the Bainbridge mayor about flamingos? I would assume you can ask whatever you want to, Terry. They'll be on the 27th. So 2 weeks from tonight. All right. That's really it. I promise. We're done. Good night. Go to bed. You guys have to go to work tomorrow. But you do. Good night.
I don't either.
Oh, that's true. You don't. Sleeping in. John said, Lori, see you later, alligator. You get a see you later, alligator directly to you. But John says nothing to me. All right.
I have
guys?
hair.
We love you.
I have hair.
I got the little beard going on here.
Not a good thing on girls.
I got a little bit of peach fuzz growing up here. I mean, I got to shave it again, but it's coming back. Terry said Kevin doesn't know about flamingos on Bainbridge. No, I don't. Why would I? Bainbridge is an isolated nation amongst itself. All right. Really, we're done. Good night, everybody. Outlaw Radio. Have a good night.
Adios.